Okay, when Bobby gets down here, we will be on page 13, A and B, and I think there's a C. Yeah, there is. 13. You may not have the exact same. It's the 068 commissioners. It's 13 for us.
When I saw the card for sale this morning, I saw Steve and I said, this is going to be fun. I had no idea how unfun it was going to be.
Hey,
I didn't realize.
hey, Ed is thanking us. Hey, Ed is thanking us. We don't get that very often.
What did you say? Oh, you are so welcome, Ed.
As a budget expert, please feel free to ask me anything you'd like, limited to 3 words or less.
These are the ground rules.
These are the rules of engagement.
But the rules of engagement
Take all you want,
are,
be prepared to give it back.
you were military. Steve was military. There's a difference in tone. Well, I thought he was. I thought he was Peckinpah. Yeah. We're going over the rules of engagement. And I hope he's listening,
I was just thinking
because
that
he
about
wasn't
what
the
I
other
just said.
days that he criticized.
I was not here for the exchange between Mr. Peckinpah and
Well, listen to it on live stream. He didn't.
It was quite animated.
Oh,
I heard about it.
yes, he was. And he wants to know, what, are we live streaming? Never mind.
We're live streaming. And Steve is coming, I heard. He left with Debbie. Okay. We're on page 13.
Hang on, just let me get set up.
Harold won't be here for a while. Had to let the dog out, or there'd been a major mess in his house.
So I just
That's
ate my
more
lunch.
information than you need, but I'm explaining why Harold's not here.
Oh,
No question.
well, there you go.
Ed has said, if we ask him a question, the response will have to be 3 words or less. That's the only,
That's it, 3 words or less.
yeah. Those are the terms of engagement.
I am pleased with the budget as presented.
When we get the gavel. Motion to adjourn.
You are not pleased.
Do I need to wait on Steve, or,
He's working on something. He's with Debbie.
well, Debbie's usually here to take notes, but Bobby's a backup.
Debbie, or you want to switch? Okay.
There's,
Here they are. And I assume Debbie's coming from the other, yep, here we go. Page 13, raises, we've backed out to 2022 numbers until we find out how much monies are left for raises across the board. Same with building inspector. Drainage board members is a meeting amount, right? They get so much per meeting like PC.
yeah, $50.
So my question is, we've talked about the last 2 or 3 years, taking the drainage board and putting it underneath Steve West's budget.
Okay,
I don't know if that's something we want to do, but because they're,
it makes more sense.
yeah, because they're the ones that have to turn it in.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
Everybody hear that?
Drainage board under
Yeah,
surveyor's budget.
yeah, makes more sense.
We'll trade, because I would like to bring GIS under the commissioners.
Okay, we'll get to that in just a little bit. Well, we'll get to it before we end. Okay, Drainage Board is moving from commissioners to surveyor. Makes sense. Social Security will be tied to raises. Retirement will be tied to raises, which we're backing down to current until we find out raise amounts. Soil Conservation Clerk will be rolled back to 2022. Maintenance man rolled back. Assistant maintenance rolled back. We need to talk about part-time, Bobby.
Yes, because we have, we do need to have a part-time budget in there, because number one, we only have 2 maintenance people, and Greg was off work for quite a while. I can't remember how many weeks. Ed, do you remember how many weeks Greg was off in the wintertime?
But I think we need part-time, certainly because, especially for snow removal.
Yep,
Okay.
yeah.
300 obviously was drastically not sufficient.
Right.
A lot of other things that come up
Okay.
over here.
And you've calculated 30,000 will do it, a usual year with emergency like we had this year, okay? Or an unexpected.
A certain number of hours or just a dollar?
I
figure?
just did a dollar figure
We're
because it was at 27,000
Right.
before, you know, we had to agree to give up part-time to get Gabe to full-time, which at the time sounded, I mean, we needed Gabe at full-time, but once we started into with Greg off and other things, it became apparent that we needed part-time. So,
Okay, well, it was still 375 back in 2021, so, but before that, it was in there as
I
a,
believe it was 27, we had, at one point, we had $27,000 because
Okay.
that's what we had to give up last year.
okay, it must have been somewhere else.
Uh-huh.
Okay, longevity,
We've talked about moving the part-time. What would you pay that person? Have you thought about, is it an existing person?
I'll answer that in a second.
We've talked about
I
moving
believe
the
we have-
part-time rate up a little bit.
I believe we have.
We have 30,000, request for 30,000.
But I believe we have a salary ordinance for part-time. I want to say, isn't it 14, because it was higher than the regular, because that's the part-time rate that, the whole discussion with the recorder's
So
office.
their part-time rate's higher than correctional officers.
Yes, it always has been. It doesn't make sense, but it always has been.
That's just something we talked about earlier, trying to get things
Yes.
in sync.
Well, the way things are, I mean, I'm, you know,
If you want a person, it's gonna have to.
you know, $15 an hour. Yeah, I mean, really, I mean,
That's
you know, you're not gonna, you can go to
hard part right
McDonald's and
now.
make $17 an hour, why would
You
I?
can go to Taco Bell and get some 401k plan.
Yeah,
here.
you know,
We're going to have to
Yeah.
use the mic.
so,
I'm sorry. This is
So
an
are you
important
looking
meeting.
at just one person that you're thinking about? Or how many people are you talking about?
yeah,
One
just
person?
one,
As needed. in case
as
you-
needed. I mean, it could be multiple on an as-needed basis.
Okay,
Okay, because I just did the quick math, and 15 times 28 times 52 weeks is 21,840.
I know, but what if we needed two people? Or what if we, I mean, I think 30,000
okay.
is,
Any cuts we're looking at, we're just wanting to go to raises, that's all. So
I
if you think
understand,
that's a
but-
good estimate?
I do.
Okay. Because others have gone back and
or at least give
recalculated.
us back to the 27,000 that we had previously.
Okay. Nothing.
Nothing.
It's still 30. I'd like
The
to see
27 was a
27.
real hard number because I don't think any of it was, or very little of it was actually used by the commissioner's budget.
Are you
Because it
good-
was so much.
can we go
There
27?
were so much screwy
I mean,
things.
I-
Yeah,
I
there
would
were so
do-
many other
I would
people
go
getting
down to
paid out of
27,
it.
But
If you
there
need it,
is a
it'll be
need
there.
for part-time.
It's just, those 3,000 will go back into raises, which will
I
give somebody
understand. I
a
would prefer 30,
0.2%
but
raise.
if you can't find $3,000 somewhere else in the
Oh,
budget,
we have,
you know,
but we've
I would
done it by
prefer 30.
3,000 at a time.
I would prefer 30, but if I have to go 27, I would prefer 30.
Okay,
Let's leave it 30 for now.
okay, I'm good either way.
How we do?
Longevity, probably because of Ed leaving,
Yep,
it's going down. Weights and measures, we're going to roll that back.
Yep.
She put a 3% in there. Veterans, part-time, same.
same.
EDC,
I think I put 3% in there.
you
as
did.
well.
And that's actually assistant director, that's Penny. Okay. Same with human resource, we'll back that down to the 47.
Yep.
Office supplies, you went down, is that going to work for you?
Did I go down?
Yeah, 590. Well, you had an added, you had an amended. I just want to make sure 2,500 is sufficient.
Well, 22 was.
No, that's the year-to-date, I'm sorry. You went down from 3,089, and you had an amendment.
Yeah, I just went off of last year's budget.
So 25 is not going to be enough, is it?
Probably not, but we can, I'm trying to remember where we're at right now. Yeah, we only have $100 right now left in there. Yeah, we've only got 100.
You can go to Walmart and buy a case of paper with what you have left the rest of the year.
I think
You
we've
want
got
it-
it, I
you want it
think
more?
we've got enough of our paper.
Okay, okay. That was
yeah.
just an example. Okay. We'll leave it at 25? Anything
Yeah,
we
we'll leave
increase
it
it, we're going to
25
take it out
and
of
we'll see where we
part-time.
go. Yep.
Okay. Office supplies, 25. Legal services, Chad, already talked to Bobby about this.
We've already talked.
Wait,
So-
yeah, I mean, that's with the, and Bobby and I've kind of briefly talked with the lawsuit for the jail being gone now. We're not paying Pam and the rest of that team, so I think I recommended 50, which I think this year so far has only been 34, but I think there's some bills that haven't come in from
Taking
talking to
there's
Deb.
Taking
other
it down
things that
50,
I-
not 250.
Not 250, take
Taking
it
it
Take it
down.
down 50 to
I'm okay
140.
with that.
140.
I thought he was gonna say, I thought. he
No,
was
no,
gonna
no,
say
no, no.
250. I'm like,
Take it down
reduce
50 to
50.
140.
okay with 140.
I mean, 140 might be
Yeah.
a little.
140 may be a little strong,
may be,
but
but-
I know there are some
There are some-
ongoing lawsuits beyond, and we're probably gonna, and if we pay out settlements, that also comes out of that line item, right? If we pay out our deductibles and things, so, I mean,
And-
I
and- and a
feel
matter of
pretty
fact, there's-
comfortable at 140,
Everybody,
but,
There's a settlement.
reduce it 50 to 140. Okay,
Yep.
okay.
okay. That's, will help. Travel and meetings, you've just increased slightly.
Yep,
Everybody's increased slightly.
yep.
Fuel mainly, travel. Okay. EDC, I never understood this. We talked about it.
That's our contribution.
That's our contribution
To the EDC, not
Yep.
personnel, to
No,
the
to
EDC. That's
EDC,
our half? Okay, that's it.
Correct.
And they asked us if we would again this year, and we probably are not able to do that this year.
I don't think the cities have increased, I don't think the city increased their EU, I think when I was talking to Corey, I think they're keeping it the same as,
I know,
if
because
I
Corey
talked to
had
Corey.
like a 5-year plan.
Yeah, I think the city's contribution is staying the same, I don't think anything's
Okay.
increasing.
Telephone, that's probably 9-star, that a contract?
That is 9-star, yeah,
That's estimate for next year, what you've got going? It's
Huh?
what?
what do you mean, why is it
Okay.
going up so much?
Gotcha.
Because if you remember correctly, that last year, in last year's budget, it was found that telephone was not just being paid, 9-Star's telephone was not being paid just out of telephone, it was being paid out of multiple funds.
And they're correcting that?
Yep.
Okay, that's good.
Okay, I have to
And I
interject
will-
with humor. I got a text from Andy at 10:30 that says, Kaya is not up yet. Everyone else is brushing their teeth now. I wonder if he's figured out yet that I have.
What, you didn't use your microphone. What did you say?
Kaya is not up yet. He texts me, everyone else is brushing their teeth now because I'm like a toothbrushing Nazi. So he's
Okay.
informing me everyone has clean teeth now.
Okay. You didn't need to have that in the microphone. That's good.
Okay, sorry.
That's what we call sidebar conversations.
I know.
That lightens the discussion. Pub-
Hey, why do I?
Yeah, we were talking about you. Publications and legal, that's like advertising in the Courier, right?
I'm
And-
sorry.
And I know that's going up, but
Publication and legal
12,000's enough?
notices,
Okay,
Yeah,
okay. Official bonds, same?
yep.
Okay. We do that for the county because I'm at a commissioners meeting. You bond all treasurers, yeah. Liability, that's enough apparently? Have you gotten a bid?
I
for-
think so, yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
Workman's comp, you've kept the same. Unemployment insurance, you've
Kept
kept
the same, and
same.
we haven't done anything, had to pay anything out this year, so, but
Okay.
I would keep it the same.
Yeah.
Need to update insurance with the money we took from the park. Do we always do that?
You talking about group health? We're at it right now. Open up for discussion.
Had a number. Did we,
You raised 5%, which is the estimate from Josh, right? That is exactly 5%. They went up 111,000. Yes.
We still built the cushion in, so there's several $100,000 in cushion, plus the fund is well into the black. So I think it's comfortable not doing it, but
Your call.
I think it's comfortable not, I mean, because last year we budgeted 10% over expected. So this is 10% over expected plus the 5% increase.
so then do we get 50,000 for raises? Because we didn't.
I think so.
I mean, that's.
Well, but all it does is less than we would have to reduce, because if we took it out here, it would just offset that 50,000 we'd already counted from the legal. So it really wouldn't, it's not going to gain us anything because we didn't plan to pull that back
long as
out
there's
in the
money to pay the
numbers. so.
bill.
We marked that down as a reduction earlier.
Well, we didn't because we didn't actually receive a reduction when they refigured. We, remember our revenues actually went down even after they refigured the tax rate. Because this updated sheet for the general fund, when we got this updated sheet, remember this went down. Our estimate, even after we put in the additional revenue, it would have even been more drastic had we not done that from the park. So I'm comfortable with leaving it, but again, I'm not going to be here. So you guys need to
Leaving it at current?
just leaving it where it's at because
the
last
commission
year
put
we
in-
budgeted 10% over expected, and I can't remember the exact number, but isn't it pushing $1 million that we have in the insurance fund?
I think 10% over is good, and then I think
10% plus the 5 additional, I think you guys are going to be in, unless, God forbid, and hopefully it doesn't happen, we have several really,
Well, last year we had
Ill
several
employed.
really,
but we still managed with the increase
I
to grow the
understand.
account pretty handily.
yep,
Yeah.
yep.
we should probably have a certain amount we're trying to get to, and once we hit that amount, we can just budget it.
Well,
I'm hearing two different opposing views,
I-
maybe.
Not a good way to think about it.
I do like that idea.
Well, they spent $1 million.
But here's the thing, $1 million, if you tried to get to that same 15%, 15% would be 600, so we already have $1 million. So we're at 25%. We're at a 25% cushion in that account right now.
Sorry, I just had to, I had to take that off. Yeah.
So Susan, where I think we're comfortable is that we currently have more than 25% balance in that fund. So we're already built up to that point. I think it's a pretty good comfort
Which would
zone.
I mean,
take care
I'm
of
okay keeping it at what it is, what we had for 2021. Are you okay with keeping it at 2021's balance? 2021's balance? I'm okay with that.
It's just taking off 111,533. That way you have-
I'm okay.
So we're subtracting it to this year, which is 2,230,654, which means what she requested is subtracting 111,533, taking off the 5% because we already had the balance built in. Yes, to 2022. We're taking it back to the 2,230,654 that's in from to the
I'm
2022
sorry, did you
amount.
say what?
We're just taking it back to 2022.
Okay.
That means we're taking out 111,533
Okay,
is what we're taking it.
up to the amended budget.
We're just
Okay.
rolling it back.
Again, I don't have to live with it.
Well,
It's,
you're an insurance man. Is that enough cushion?
it's back.
I would- How about we do a compromise and take it down to the 2021 actual, which is the 2,260,1392. It's not the.
What is
I
it?
mean, it's not 110,000. The 2021 actual was $2,260,013.92 was what we paid actual out in 2021.
Just going a little bit more just to build a cushion and cut it in the middle, do 50-50 or something, because my only concern is obviously if we have multiples that go with it, it could really, and it could be huge, if that's what happened. Now, they were also down
Yeah.
with that amount,
Right.
which we're going like this, but if you have multiples in one year, it could really deplete your reserve.
So. So you want to split the difference between the 2342,187 and the 2260,13? Split the difference?
Yeah, I would say let's go like, you know, 2,209,000 or something, just kind of go in the middle.
Okay.
That way you're still building a little bit of a cushion beyond that.
But halfway in the middle would be 2,286,420. That's
Okay,
that's
whatever.
splitting. It'd be 2,286,420.
Okay.
and that's splitting the increase right down the middle.
I'm good with that. You good with that? Ed, you good with that?
Page 13. They-
It took more than 3 words, but
No, I love it. 1, 2, 3.
no, our discussion.
Oh. Oh, his response was limited to 3. That was the ground rules for engagement.
You got it.
2,286,420. So
I
it's
mean, if
halfway
you have,
between
if you look
requested
next year and you still have a,
2,286,420.
you know, you've grown it to 1.3 or
Group
1.4,
insurance.
then I
Page
think you could
13,
probably
group
start
insurance.
backing off a little bit.
No, I'm sorry,
But-
my husband.
13B.
I
13B.
want to know his response.
2,286,420. Thank you for working with us. That's more for wages, raises.
Yeah, we
Okay.
still have other things to talk about. We still have
That's-
to talk about 911.
That's
We'll
55,766.
That gets
Point-
us almost up to 4%.
Yep,
We're just calculating what we actually reduced.
that's saving 55,766. Okay. I love it. Thank you.
Keep it coming, Greg.
The other employees. Let's not go there yet. We're on a good mood. Okay, we're going to go. Copier, you raised, everybody's raised. Examination of records, you lowered a little bit. Is that 30,000 good? Okay. Okay, that's saved a little bit from last. Okay, and then we've got Flat Rock. That's been that forever. Okay, community health, we're talking about taking it to
That bill actually come in at 270,356.
That's another.
235 savings.
271,000, yeah.
Right, the savings.
I put double in because last year.
You still have 235, right?
So 2021, we got 2020, 2021, you had to come back for the So this time I
Well,
did the book just in case, but we got the invoice.
we're taking 236 out, 236,000 out.
271.
635 is the last 3 digits. Okay,
Did you say 271 even, Debbie, is that what you put it in? Yeah. 271.
271K. Okay. Humane Society, you kept the same? Okay. Fair premiums, that 4-H fair that we contribute? Okay. If there's any of these you want to raise, because I know they're all affected by inflation, care patients and inmates, why is that in there?
That is for,
It's mental health on top of Meridian. It's outside of, okay. That, I am so glad you weren't on the mic, and your mic's off, by the way. Purposely. Okay. Okay. Well, that explains what that, I never knew what that was for. Burial soldiers. Burial soldiers keep the same.
we've had a lot this year.
Is that enough?
Actually, we're almost at the,
You're 4,200.
yeah,
And World War II is going to be,
yeah.
Korean's going to come up. You
Yeah, because,
want to
Yeah.
increase that to 7,500?
I'm sorry?
You want to increase that to 7,500 if you're getting a surge?
I think I don't know that we need to go up that much.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Some of them we're getting hit with here recently or
Well,
We help pay for
we
the
help pay for
ceremony
the
and
flag,
the
it's the
parade.
flags at the parade.
The Memorial Day
plaids.
thing, the big thing out here,
Yeah.
the flags. Yeah,
Yeah.
we contribute because it's a county event, not just a city event.
Yeah,
Okay, and that's where we're at. Memorial Day, you went up $58. So
Yeah.
we're good there.
yep,
State dues, you kept at 6,100.
Yep.
Middletown, yep, we know about that, 0, 0.
Yep.
Airport,
Thing is, if we're not going to, if some
We're good. We're good. Airport, we're finally zeroing out since it's the Newcastle Airport now? Will it be by December 31st, zeroed out? Sounds like Newcastle EMS, they're working on it. Zero out, okay? Okay. Job classification and maintenance, it's been 5,500 thereabouts for years.
Yeah.
Okay. Historic,
Job classification and maintenance. I think it is. We should.
okay, I always wondered what they're. Yeah. Most counties do. That's another issue that we can talk about.
And again, I'm going to stress, we didn't have them and we were in a mess.
Yep. That goes back to her earlier discussion.
Yes, no.
That's why we have job classification.
Yes.
It's a different discussion.
Is there a competitor to them? That they're the only game in town?
Every county I know of uses them for the same reason that we went to them, to try to be as fair as possible, as fair as humans can be. We can fall back on something, but that's why we have the system we do. I've got a question.
Sorry.
I was just saying, if we do start making more people SOs, then I'm not sure that we're
Well,
using them as intended.
I think that we still need the data points.
yes, and
While we
I don't
have
know
the-
that every office, never mind.
Okay.
I think the
Maybe-
data
That's a
they
whole different
provide is
discussion
going to be
about
beneficial
if
for
we move
another
everybody to
year
SOs.
as we
I mean,
discuss more of the different possibilities.
Then you are backing into no job classification.
Betsy and I are ready to.
I think this is a discussion that could last weeks.
Right there, that's what I think.
And if we have that discussion, Debbie, if we have that SO discussion, we're not going to meet the August 25th deadline that Debbie's really pushing for.
Sorry. Anyway,
I was just going to say, if we have that SO discussion, we're not going to be anywhere close to meeting that August 25th deadline that we're trying to meet for the budget hearing. But it's all in this milieu of discussions.
Well, I do, just to interject quickly, I agree with Kyle. Even if we make all these positions, we're still going to have some sort of a data point from someone.
I think
So it's going to be in this, unless you guys are just going to pull out of the pie in the sky,
no.
you're still going to have a
here's
data
good-
point.
Well, here's a good example that we're using them for right now. The grant writer position, which we kind of did that backwards. We did the interview. We haven't done a salary. I mean, we've approved them. Everybody approved the first year, but we don't think we did a salary ordinance, so we'll have to come back and do that before we hire anybody. But the position at the jail for the JCAP position, we get the basics down, we send it to them, and then they make sure that everything is in line and, legal and done appropriately. I mean, it's more than just, we think this person should be an SO or not an SO. Because there is no way that we here at the county would be able to come up with all that. So,
I think the only footnote that affects us mainly is the legitimacy of grouping us in a 40-mile radius that they told us that they can work, and because that includes Hamilton, more than twice they're 11 billion assessed evaluation, we're 1.5. We can never compete with Hamilton County.
understand.
In a million years, we can't compete.
I understand.
So the AIC comes closer because around the entire state, we're looped in.
I still believe that they serve a purpose.
You still believe they serve a purpose?
Yes, I do.
Kind of what, okay.
Back in 2 years past that, until just recently, BlackRock always came to their presentations.
And budget hearing, yep, they were always invited.
When did that stop?
Cope.
We didn't know that occurred. Did we know that occurred?
They used to always come and talk to the council, about salaries and where you stood and state issues.
I'm a proponent of being educated. It just kind of comes with my territory. I'd like to know from them, because we've never heard that. I don't think we had to ask for it because we didn't know that occurred. I'd like to hear from them. What do you do? What can you provide for this $5,500 or whatever it is?
Well, they do provide a good service. there may be some on the council that don't agree with it, but
I agree. It just, they lump us in with very high,
I understand. I mean,
Counties.
that's a side question for them.
right.
But the information.
We'll never
that we
be able to do
received-
full market competing with
And I
Marion
had
and
lunch
Hamilton
with
County.
a councilman, a 20-year councilman from Shelbyville. They look at our data. Shelby County does. They look
Yeah.
at our data. But they use Wagner, Irwin, and Schilling as well. I mean,
every-
they use a combination. I don't think you can ever just rely on one sole data point.
That's why I
think
provided
that's what
AIC.
you're saying, you know,
AIC gives
just use
us,
one data point
Agreed.
to come up with something. You have to have multiple.
agreed. I've got a question about Historical Society, because just like the Humane Society, it's been that same amount forever.
Decades, we pay them, and yeah, we have contracts
Okay.
with them.
They've not asked for more money?
Nope.
Okay.
Oh, Humane Society. No. this-
Well, Humane and Historical have been that
Yeah, but then
forever.
so we pay them that, when we pay for those pickups, does that come out of that 50,000 that we budget for a Humane Society? Because we have to pay $10 per pickup, at least $10 per pickup.
At least,
Yeah.
some,
Yeah, so,
Okay. Just asking.
yep.
which I didn't understand. To me, it shouldn't be separated.
I saved the county money, there's not a lot of cat in there last week, he took it in myself.
Thank you. God
Thank you,
bless
Ed.
Now
God
you'll
bless
be on
you.
the list that you can't adopt because you brought in a cat.
Yeah, it's a conflict of interest. They do file. Yeah, they prorate that. Okay, we have postage, you went up like most people went up.
Yep.
Property tax, what's that for? Property tax you paid like for the courthouse?
Drains.
Drains? Okay.
We get a stack of bills about this thick. Or is it bigger than that? Oh, that's right, it is about like that.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, I said property tax, I wasn't sure. Okay. Secured detention?
Yep, and I went over that with Susan even after that we were out of bed days. And she still believes that 100,000. will-
Susan Lightfoot?
Yes.
She did share that, yes.
Yep.
Contractual services, you went up a bit. What does that include? What kind of contracts?
It's cleaning service
Okay.
and, yeah. mhm.
Cleaning, polishing, so it went up like everything else gone up.
Clean and Simple, Pure Water Partners, Braden Business Systems, Crocheting,
Okay.
Shredding. Yeah, Clean and Simple
Fuel?
has added a $25
A lot
charge
of places are adding fuel
Yep.
charge, surcharge.
to that.
Chad, you want to bring up the lawn service? Lawn service?
Oh, I've just had a couple people
Yeah.
complain about the lawn.
We get what we pay for. We get what we pay for.
We're supposed to mow her.
Hey, 3 words are up.
I asked for an exception to the rule.
Granted.
We got this lawn service, which is essentially one guy, sometimes he has help.
Well, I think we need to open it up to somebody else.
We picked him because he was far cheaper than anybody else. We picked him to save money. Is he as good? Could we get better service? Of course we could, but we will probably pay a lot more for it.
Well, considering
Depends on
that
what-
this is,
Year was really bad because first he broke his hand, or hurt his hand, and then he got COVID. So during that time, and that's all been in the last few months. So we either, and it doesn't make any difference to me, we either put up with the problems that he's had, or we get somebody else and pay him a lot more.
I think we're gonna have to put it out to bid because in my opinion, this building should be the shining star of Newcastle and the weeds are overrunning the
What I-
mulch and the yard doesn't get mowed and it looks
Steve,
awful.
break the tie. Put it up for contract.
Well, we have
Leave
to,
it as is.
we can't make this
Yeah, I have to
decision
put it out
here.
in the country.
I know.
Put it out for bid and see what happens.
Well, I just want to put a little bit more in because it's going to be more. It's going to be at least double.
I totally agree with you, Bobby. When I think about all the sweat equity we did last fall, getting all this mulch put in, and then walking back for lunch, almost half of it's covered with weeds now. I mean, it would take days to go back over and
Is
just pull the
10,000 gonna be
weeds.
enough?
If you do the liquid weed
Add
whackers, you go
1,500, make
every
it
once in a
10,000.
while. It's a lot easier to do.
Add 1,500, make it 10,000.
I would say yes.
No offense to the guy,
Either,
but things happen to him and it's looked terrible. That's nobody's fault and it's not his.
Do some extra things because he was supposed to go over and mow in the old jail.
He's not doing that, one of the EMS employees.
We're increasing 1,500 to 10,000.
The last row was
And that allows them to rebid it. Yes, on top, page 13C, 82, 10,000. And that gives a buffer for new contract. Computer equipment and programs, Chad,
So my
things
recommend.
are coming out of that.
My recommendation is that we move that over to the CCD fund. Since we left the sheriff's cars in the safety lit, we freed up that $150,000 in the CCD fund. So then you could increase their CCD fund to $300,000 total budget. So it's the net sum zero to the commissioners in their fund. It just takes it all out of one place and it frees up money in the general fund.
I don't have a problem with that. You have a problem?
So
it's a move to a different fund,
Yeah.
same amount.
into CCD,
Into
but we
CCD.
zero out, which we got to get to CCD next, but we're basically going to zero out the sheriff's cars in CCD because we left them in the jail lit, which we still haven't or safety lit, which we still haven't completely gone through. But that was my recommendation to free up general fund money. It gets the commissioners still the $300,000 they requested. And plus it makes it a lot cleaner on the auditor's office because they take it out of just one fund.
It's page 39 is CCD. That line that said sheriff vehicle, we moved it to safety. It's just a switch. It's no fund, it's no
It
amount.
was actually already double budgeted in safety and CCD, so.
Yes. So we corrected that.
At the, I don't know what date you guys have, but that 132,000 is not there right now. We've paid out the sheriff's vehicles.
What did you say? I couldn't hear.
The sheriff's vehicles, it says 132,000
Yes.
in it. There is 31,588. The sheriff's vehicles in CCD, because we paid those, we finally got the invoices, so there's only 31,588 in there right now. And there may be a couple more things to pay, but
To jump back and finish the commissioner's budget, I did want to ask about that $500 for airport runway. Is that something we
it's
still
something we always
need,
keep in there.
since we're not?
We never know, and then this airport runway, this is one where we help pay
But I just don't know, if since we're totally out of the airport business, I didn't know if we need to leave that in there.
No, I'm not sure that we're not supposed to be doing anything with the airport.
So we could take it out.
But, yeah, mine is. I don't know if the city's doing it either. No, I don't take it out. I don't take it out. We haven't,
We got out of the airport business,
yeah, take it out.
once we paid off that,
Yeah, I just left it in because it's always been in there.
I thought we were done, so.
Yep, leave, take it out.
I come up with a total in the commissioner's budget of $502,690. So, and these ladies will,
You did not change social security or anything for 1911.
not yet, we left it exactly the same.
You didn't go back, you didn't take it back.
So the only thing that my number doesn't, I did not add the 3,500 into that number, so you might get a $3,500 difference, but I'm looking at the total net difference for the general fund, because if all we did was shift the 3,500 from here to surveyor, then I think we need to address Bobby's question about the GIS before we jump away from this budget.
And the reason I say that is because there's a lot of departments that use GIS. GIS used to be under the commissioners up until, I don't know, Debbie, 10 years maybe, or less? Maybe. And it was actually moved just because somebody couldn't get along with somebody else, so they moved it. And because it's under, so many departments use it, that I think it should be under, kind of like building inspector. under the commissioners. Weights and measures under the commissioners. GIS should be under the commissioners as well.
Don't disagree, but we need to,
It could be, no, I mean, I'm just talking about the person. I mean, physical location can stay over there. Well, it's, everybody
we need to talk
refers
to
to
Steve.
that
Let
position
us
as
say, let
Steve's
him know we're
person.
doing it.
It's not Steve's person. Yes, but that is who I'm referring to. Correct, no, that's Rachel. Yeah, the person that's currently in Steve's budget, it was moved, and when it was moved, it was because somebody didn't like somebody
they just do it.
and couldn't get along,
Money change.
or,
What, you talk to Steve and do it, because there's no money difference from our perspective.
No, there's no
Just
money-
courtesy call, say, hey.
The
we're
only
gonna-
thing-
We're gonna move it.
I'll let you do that.
The only thing we would need to do is move it in our budgets.
I mean, there's no reason to physically, I mean, they used to be over here.
Got that new
but-
plotter and everything else
but
set up there.
There's no reason to physically move.
Right, okay.
Yeah,
And you're the liaison. Could you just have that talk that we're
Yeah.
doing it?
I
No,
mean,
no
we're-
budget difference than what we
We're
talked
not
to him
looking
about.
to physically move, I mean, that's ridiculous to move positions.
It's-
But I think because it's under, there's so many other departments that use it,
Does Steve still hire for it, or you?
well,
That would,
quite frankly, it should have been more than just a surveyor hiring, because more departments should have, Taylor was great, I don't have any problem with Taylor, made a great choice. But, yeah, so, that's my personal thing. Uh-huh, yeah.
So basically, we're just moving their budget.
Just moving their budget. I'm fine with
I'm
them
gonna
staying
shoot
over
him
there.
a text, just to
Why
let him
don't you
know.
let Steve?
I'm his liaison.
Steve is his liaison as well. Let Steve do it, please. Because they just asked if Steve would have a conversation with Steve.
Okay.
As far as the council's concerned, it's
Oh, am I moving the table?
it's a fun move. You moved the table. There's no money change, because we already talked about GIS. We zeroed it back to current. Then we're gonna talk raises here, start talking raises this afternoon. It's just a fund surveyor
What was
to
the other-
commissioners.
There was another, the drainage board,
They're moving that
shifting
under
that
him.
to him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Steve, there's two things. Drainage board, $50 a meeting goes back to him. GIS goes to commissioners. And it's no change in job descriptions. It's mainly auditor, what's under the, where it's at in their programming. Any other questions for commissioners? You have to go. Oh, at 2. Gosh, we're ahead.
I don't know if they'll get mad or not.
My 2 cents is I don't think it matters anything to the
You know,
budget, so I
and
really
quite frankly,
think it's a decision of
It was a
the,
group
management.
hiring process. Steve is not the sole person to hire that position.
Okay, we're good. We're good. I'm just looking at you to,
Oh, he's here.
you're here to talk technology?
Huh?
You're here to talk technology, or you got something to talk to them?
Well, I asked if he wanted to come.
Good.
I asked him to come.
We've met with EMS, we met with other people we've never met with. We met with the library.
No, I just asked him to come in case
problem.
there was any questions on, because we.
No problem. We've invited a lot of people this year just for information sharing and input and Q&A. And we're going to ask Wagner and Shealing to give us an education, what they do. Hasn't been done in 3.5 years.
I do have a question on courthouse, if we're ready to go there, but
39? Oh, wait, no, that's
courthouse is
CCD.
15, I don't care.
What is it, 15?
Yeah, it's pretty fast to do.
Yes.
Curious if that's enough for utilities. Sorry. Okay, I was just curious on their courthouse, if you feel good about that for utilities.
You know what,
It's
at this
just so
point,
unknown.
It's just so unknown.
Okay,
15,
Honestly, because
Sorry,
from what
Tom.
we're hearing, utilities are probably going to go up
Mm-hmm.
substantially this next year for
a
everything.
lot,
Yep.
yep.
okay.
So you've raised it 10,000, and right now
I
it's
would-
guesswork, and you're okay with that, or you?
Well, that was before all of the
We may
Duke
have
was
to do-
raised, and, I mean, we just paid a $16,000
This is for
electric bill for the
utilities, so
Justice
just for
Center.
everybody to see.
So,
I do think we did.
I mean,
larger
if you look at
percentage
year-to-date
increases
last year versus actual this year, I mean, it's still another 10+%, give or take, in the cushion, so, I mean, but it's so hard to tell. Who knows what it's gonna do?
I mean,
I mean, when REMC said that their expenses for the first 6 months of this year from Hoosier Energy, which is their supplier, that they were $100 million deficit, you know they're gonna pass that on to everybody else.
yes, they are. Yeah, Duke is going for a rate increase. Yeah.
You might want to increase that more, because we know it's going to be more.
What if we, I
I'd
mean,
say raise
my
it.
first one was 275, but how if we go 260?
I would, or 265. I'd raise it 25,000, because that's only 9%.
275?
Yeah.
That was my first thought.
I think
Well,
it won't easily be that much.
I do
It's going,
too.
it's going to use it, and you wouldn't have to be coming back.
So you're increasing it to what?
275.
275. And that's,
Yes. Well, they didn't even, we didn't talk
increasing
about maintenance supplies.
25,000 from
Yes, I think we're good on that.
35,000 total. It's going to go to 275, because utilities are skyrocketing. Trash pickup, you just went up 500. I know
Yeah.
ours increased.
I can't, yeah.
Lawn care and snow removal, hey, that's what we were talking about earlier. Maybe it should have gone here.
3,500.
Should have gone here instead of the other place? Probably.
For contracting out.
I think a lot of that is probably just for salt. Because that number is pretty small.
So
Yeah.
the contract wasn't the right one, the commissioners.
We buy a lot of salt for the sidewalks.
Okay, when you're 35, you're okay? We,
Yeah.
okay, 35? And vehicle maintenance, you just increased 500, and that,
And again, that,
it's guess.
nobody can get any parts to fix any vehicles, so.
Doesn't
The
matter.
one I ordered, they said, we're not making any more this year.
Okay.
23.
Oh, it's everything. Furniture, appliances, vehicles, shortage of chips.
So, I mean, the good news is we're going to be replacing the building inspector in weights and measures, but, we still got a lot of
Is
vehicles.
that coming along?
Huh?
Vehicles, those
Oh,
vehicles
no, we're
approved?
going to have to, we're going to increase what we appropriated.
Okay, good to know. Preview coming attractions.
Mm-hmm.
What else, besides courthouse, does commissioners have anything?
CCD,
Yes, we, 35?
no, you're not in.
Yes.
Yeah, you're in the, we pay you out of
I don't know. Where was CCD again? Page 39, CCD. We already talked about the washer, the switch, and sheriff's vehicles. Repair and maintenance, you went up 15?
And again, that, if we have
Yes.
a $1 million chiller go out at the Justice Center, it'll be $1 million.
It may be 40 on yours, Ed. I think you were one behind.
Okay.
You
It's
know,
a
I mean,
guess, but it's a good guess. It's an
I'm sorry?
educated guess.
I'm-
It's an educated estimate. That's what a lot of this is.
Yeah,
You went up 10,000 in custodial?
yes. Well, actually, it's going to be 80, but we have to do the supplies as well, so that includes.
So you're good
that,
with 85?
which I'm looking at and working on putting together janitorial jobs. We used to hire janitorial staff. We used to have, Tom Saunders was the janitor. I don't know why for $80,000, we can't have a full-time and a part-time, or some combination of.
That came up a couple years ago in
janitorial staff.
conversation.
Yeah, because then we're here 5 days a week.
A
Again,
full-
this building needs to be the shining beacon when you walk in, and it's, I'm sorry, I don't believe it looks clean on any.
You could put a full-time employee that runs about $60,000 all in with insurance, and then have $25,000 for part-time on top of that.
And, you know, they would work under the maintenance. I mean, I'm just working together on getting job descriptions. But I think for $80,000, this building and others should look a whole lot better than what they do. In my personal opinion, others can have a different opinion.
I've heard that from different
But
department
I don't
heads in the
believe that
building.
this building needs to be the shining star when somebody walks in.
Inside and
The floors
outside.
don't need to look dirty, the wall, you know.
I'm sure you've gotten the same complaints I have that from department heads that they say they don't even tell the janitorial staff to come in, they just clean it themselves because
Yep.
they have to do it anyway.
But the only problem is, we're talking about 3 buildings. This is
I understand, but we will have a full-time, hopefully, a full-time person,
right.
like Tom Saunders did.
It's true, but it may turn out to
Janitorial.
be very good, but there's no guarantee that a full-time person can take care of the 3 buildings and do it better than what they.
I don't know. Yeah, I see maybe 2 here, and they're,
They may have 2 here and 2 across the street.
I couldn't tell you how.
It varies, because certain nights they do trash, certain nights they do bathrooms, certain days they do everything. I know it goes back and forth, so it just depends on what you're asking.
Yeah,
So I know they're
not very much.
here on weekends.
Yeah. Yeah. That's my personal opinion, but right now that's. But that could easily change. Correct. Mm-hmm, right.
It's in the same fund,
Uh-huh.
but it would have to go to one fund.
Right. No, it'd have to move under.
So we'd have to shift,
Right.
we would have to shift something else in the CCD, which we would pay. There are things in the commissioner's budget.
Yeah. Yep.
If we issued a new GO bond in '23, when would we get the funds? If,
Issue 'em until mid, the current one doesn't expire until mid, so it'd be the last part of 2023
Last
that
part
we'd
of
see monies.
23.
If we did that,
if we did that.
it'd be over a year from now.
Right.
We'd see any of,
No, I know, but I was just thinking, and again, just brainstorming, I mean, we could, if we're looking for more money for raises, sheriff vehicles could come from the GO bond.
Yeah, those already came out.
But so could computer equipment. I mean, there are things in here.
Well, not necessarily, because Jeff is,
Well-
there's a lot of things that are paid out of computer maintenance.
I think most of the maintenance is actually maintenance, not necessarily
It's
equipment.
Yeah, innovative technological, we pay automated logistics for, we do pay some 9-star out of it. BIS is paid out of it. Lao is paid out of it. I mean, there's other things
We
paid.
could put sheriff vehicles there and pay for more of the, the other raises out of lit that are applicable. It's just an idea. Does it help us is my question. Do we gain anything is my only question.
By,
As far as if we did theoretically move sheriff vehicles, or if we can find something else to a GO bond, which wouldn't affect our tax rate, to give raises, do we gain anything?
But my only concern is that buys you a temporary Band-Aid that then you are forced to figure out in a couple years.
Or continue
Because-
to do the GO bonds?
Or
right?
continue to do that, but then your GO bond can only be capital expenditures.
Correct.
And so you're going to, and that capital expenditures are hard assets. They're not maintenance, they're not, you could do repairs on the building, but there's very little, there's couple $100,000 in that in here. So even, that would buy you one time of doing that, and then what would you do the next time? I think you just are, you're kind of kicking a can by doing it in the GO bond, because you can't pay, that's why you're paying salaries out of the GO bond, or even the safety lit is always a concern, because it's a never-ending expense.
it is. It's kind of
And
like comp time.
Yeah,
You
it's,
start relying on grants and GO bonds to fund your everything at the county, then what happens when you don't get it?
the day of
I'm afraid
reckoning.
you would just be digging a hole that you may not have to approach unless you're looking for a third term, but your predecessor certainly would probably have to
I don't think
figure out.
any of our decisions are based on getting reelected.
Well, I'm not saying that. I'm not talking about reelected, I'm just talking about facing the problem in the future. You're just kicking a can down the road.
Right now.
That's gonna come to a head.
which has happened historically.
Yeah, that's,
And I don't think we've been operating that way, but I think when we do geo bonds, I think it doesn't affect the taxpayers. If we replace one with another, it's just keeping it the same. And we've already said we're against raising taxes because of the situation we talked about. It's just even. Now, if we got rid of them, I guess that, but
That's what we were looking at and talking about.
so I've talked to Jason about. So, yeah, I've talked to Jason about that, because I think it'd be a great opportunity to completely renovate that building and get the additional pod at the jail, and that should be a sufficient enough money.
We have got to,
We've got,
agreed,
yes, and
agreed.
our assessment on these buildings came in.
You could put all
and
ARPA in that, and it would not touch the priority.
No.
I mean,
we're-
it's,
So refinancing a bond or whatever you want to do with the Justice Center in order to help cover this. is
the needs are
probably our-
great and the revenue sources are limited.
Because if we don't do something soon, we're going to be so far behind the eight ball, we'll never
You
get
talk
out on
about
that road.
kicking the can down the road.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
yep, this building has been kicked.
That's why I'm saying the
1869.
geo bond needs to help stop that can kicking and not pay, in my opinion.
So if we can, the reason I have Jeff here, is he's paid out of computer maintenance. We will be doing a new contract for January with a 5% increase. Oh, excuse me, so sorry. Sorry, I forgot. Sorry, and I'm the biggest one. I've used your microphone. I'm the biggest.
Can I ask
Yes,
a
I have. I
smart
am so
question?
sorry. So please.
I know we've been working on the county website for a year and a half, and do we know when
Higher
that officially?
priorities have taken place. He is the one doing it. Higher priorities have taken place.
You can't,
Do we have any sense of timeline on that? Someone was just asking me about it the other day. I thought it was all ready to go like a year ago.
Well, but
Well, they migrated, when we cut the
jail,
site, they migrated the old content across.
the new web page for the,
yeah,
All
it's
the
just,
historical stuff.
about a year ago.
I see.
yeah. So
Do you have any sense of timeline or?
Yeah,
I mean, I can make a priority.
no, you can do it.
It's up to you.
May not be.
I'm not asking
now.
for that. I just
Next
was
couple of days,
curious,
it's probably
and
good.
a constituent asked and said, I thought we were going to get.
when something breaks, that takes a priority.
I understand. I'm not questioning it. I
You
just,
know, I mean,
someone asked, and I thought I'd
it-
ask since we're all here.
Well, we've been told to always send your email to you, not use the county. Oh,
Oh, no, he's.
He's set up on Henry
He's set
County.
up.
uh-huh. Your what? He is set up on the
Yeah.
henrycounty.in.gov.
Okay.
Can you just forward his at Nine Star? Do a forward, anything to his county?
Yeah.
I mean, he can do a forward.
Okay.
I thought it already was.
Harold, he got a laptop, right?
Yeah.
Your email was set up in your laptop.
Yeah. I thought he gave me the laptop
Oh,
back.
I thought he did too.
Yeah. He didn't want it, so he gave it back. Well,
He can.
Well, I could fix
And
it.
Jeff can look. I think it's his henrycounty.in.gov forwards to his Nine Star. I don't know, but he can forward it to his Nine Star
Pardon?
if it makes it easier.
Bobby, real quick, so the computer maintenance expense, is
Yes.
it high enough to absorb that 5%? Looks like it probably is, at 200, it can
Yeah,
absorb that contract increase.
yeah. Here. I put computer maintenance expense at $200,000. That should.
I don't know what's.
I know. I do right
I'm
here.
nowhere near that amount.
I know you're not, but other things get paid out of that.
Yeah. I have no idea.
Okay, what are
yes,
you
it
talking
will.
about? Because it
Because
was 150,000. We talking about 200,000 for computer and maintenance, or what? Moving it from the 150 we talked about earlier to 200?
Right here, yes,
Chad, we need you,
yes, 200.
because they're just talking about moving the
No,
computer
it was, last year actual was 185,
from 150 to 200.
Last year we paid 185,000. No, we're in, yes.
Yeah,
No, computer maintenance.
Yeah, that would be a total of 350.
Nobody told me that.
No, we moved the 150.
Oh,
Yeah, that's so 350 total.
so yeah, yes, 350 will more than,
Yeah, that's,
Will
so
I
we,
hire
when
a
we took
part-time
away,
assistant for you?
we took it out of out of your budget and moved it into this budget so that you get 350 total.
okay, for computer maintenance,
Yeah,
okay? Yeah,
yeah.
that'll work.
That's what my recommendation was. I thought we said okay with that, but. So-
I just didn't have it
Yes.
down. I still had the 150.
It's been 70,000 roughly, 65,000
Do
roughly.
you need,
Yes, that will more, I mean, your 5% is not 65,000.
do you need, no, not yet.
No, not, don't you wish, I know.
Not that
You
you're
need-
not worth it, because
Yes, he is very worth it. You will see him all over the place on any given day, whether it's at the jail, the justice, I mean, he is all over the place.
Do you need a part-time assistant? You're spread awfully thin. We talked about that at the jail. I know we have the person, Brian, over at 911, but
Well, let's talk about Brian.
I would take Brian half-time, that's for sure.
is he full-time over there?
It is technically full-time.
But he's largely technology, isn't he?
does he need to be full-time?
He is, he is,
But he's full-time 911.
he is full-time 911.
Hey, let's talk.
But he does IT in 911, but he does not hesitate to help Jeff out, and vice versa.
Yeah.
Vice versa, Jeff doesn't hestate to help.
Already
him
a
out.
full-time person in 911.
But he
What's that
is,
working
he
in there?
is, I'd have to, I don't know, you'd have to look at Butch's budget. I don't know exactly what he's paid, but I know he's underpaid for what he does.
Yes.
I will just say that. So, and I don't know how we could work it or if we could work it, but I would be willing to take some of the money out of the computer maintenance to help increase his, because we need to
Discussion
keep
you
him
need to
because
have with Butch.
he is very brilliant. Not that you aren't.
I didn't think she said you just burn out eyeballs.
What's his last name, Brian's
True.
last name?
Brian,
So
true.
we couldn't pay his salary. He would have to work for Jeff.
Oh, he would have to be, okay. Okay.
He would have to be paid by Jeff's
Oh,
company,
okay.
not by us, because that would
They're working at
get into a
350,000.
problem that they had in the past.
Well, that's right. That's right. That's right. That's right.
So he would have to be
Yeah.
paid by Jeff's company. You could pay him. Yeah,
You
you
could
could
still
pay
work
him.
for 911 and then be contracted for, through him?
As long as, I mean, it's no different than him taking a job at Walmart. He's taking a job at another company. He could take a job for the landscaper that does the yards. As long as he's paid by the landscaper, it's not paid by the county, so it's not a county job.
When we do that.
Cleaning, we can do landscaping, cleaning, and
Well, hey, there you go. We could go, he could be a trifecta for
I
us,
will say
Ed.
he, during all of the installations and everything, all of the installations at the jail, during the construction and the installation and bringing the jail online, he was a huge asset, and I can't emphasize huge enough to Jeff. I can't even,
I just wonder what line, because
Brian's paid 36,430, he's paid out of the,
for
so he's the
IT.
911 supervisor at 36,430.
You're not gonna find anybody in IT in the regular market that put work for $36,000 a year. Correct.
I'd be more than willing to work something out, yeah.
You just need to work
And we've
something
got
out with
plenty in the
Butch.
budget to work something out.
I don't know what shift he works for
Well,
911.
we'll have a
I've always
discussion
seen him
with
during the
Butch.
day.
Actually, we've kind of discussed this already with Butch.
Okay, so this wouldn't be anything new.
No.
I just don't know
No,
how you
because
get it
Butch is
done.
concerned
I
that
don't know how you get it all
the,
done,
a better,
especially
higher
with the
pay
jail added on
would
top of
potentially
everything.
come along
I don't know how
and
you do it.
take him away. Because he,
So
the only problem I have with him is he doesn't know who Jimmy Stewart is. Or John Wayne. I said he doesn't know who Jimmy Stewart is or John Wayne and has never seen.
He's just too young.
Yeah, he's too young.
you're on Jeopardy.
So to jump back to CCD,
Sorry.
we added the 150 to the computer maintenance, and we
Yes.
took out the 150 to the, from the sheriff's vehicle since they're in safety lit, so that was a net sum zero, right? Is that what everybody else got? Just because we went down a lot of paths.
Yep, yep.
I just want to make sure I had the right thing written down. Yeah, well, that was adding 150 to that one. Yeah, they add the 150 to there and then take the 150 out of the sheriff. Yeah, just add it to the maintenance, computer maintenance. Oh, okay, no, sorry. Yeah, just the 350 total on that line and then zero on the sheriff, so that's a zeroed out change in that fund.
Any loose ends on CCD, courthouse, commissioners? You're
Yep.
gonna have that, you're gonna work things out with Butch.
Yep, we're gonna go
I
have a
hope
conversation.
you get more help. And in the end, I think everybody knows.
So is that,
You
are
get
we
more
done with
help.
ours?
Yeah, unless there's
Okay,
any questions.
So I do want to say that Patty Broyles, and I'm glad you're sitting here, Patty Broyles at the commissioners' meeting thanked the commissioners, and I wanted to move on to the council for approving the Guard 911. They were at a school board meeting, and they couldn't thank us enough, the commissioners and everybody else enough, for paying for that, for the installation in the first year. While nobody wanted to have the false alarm last week, it was a great test.
It worked as it
You know, because
reported
we
to
had
work.
talked about. Oh, sorry. Oh, I'm just talking about the 911 school board.
Our police responded very, very well.
Within a minute.
Yeah, they
Unbelievable. Everybody was on the scene, state police, local police, firefighters, EMS. Huh? Yeah, only one wreck. But we had talked when this first went in, I was at the county level. I don't know about the schools level, but at the county level, I was the guinea pig to install the app. And we were doing a couple of things, but we were down in dispatch. And I said, I really want to do a test, but and we were trying to figure out a way to do an actual test without freaking everybody out. So it got tested. We didn't do it. It just happened that way. But passing along the thank yous from everybody.
And that was out of ARP, wasn't it?
Art money.
School, they were within the school itself within
A minute.
and had it cleared within 3 with 6 officers, and they were in every school in the district within 3 minutes.
They locked down all the, Shenandoah got locked down, Tri-High got locked down. Yeah. So while we didn't want to have a false alarm or any event, it was a practical way to vet out the system.
The Blue River finally,
I don't know.
okay. Well, I know we hosted NASRO, which is the National Association of School Resource Officers. We hosted probably 10 trainings at the Smith Building, and this covered schools from western Ohio and eastern Indiana. Every training, they said, you go in immediately. You don't do it at Uvalde. You go in, you don't care if they are, that's what our police did as trained. They
Uvalde
went,
was an exception to the rule.
yes.
Yes, it is the
And
exception
a
to the rule.
complete failure of,
No, the training is you go in, you don't hesitate.
Oh, yeah, it was.
Yeah, you don't wait for the commanding officer to be there. You go in immediately.
We had a local law enforcement officer was in Uvalde the day before it happened. And I know if he'd have been there the day it happened, he
It
would have
hadn't been
gone
for the
in.
Border
He would not
Patrol
have been. That's,
violating.
I just didn't want,
Yeah. The chief of police said, don't go in. The Border Patrol said, I'm going in. That's after 20 kids and a teacher was
We
killed.
have the Guard 911 for all the schools.
Okay,
Somehow the text to 911 got activated, and we did find a bug with it. We didn't, Brian did, and contacted. It pre-filled it with name, location, but it also said active shooter, pre-filled, and the text got sent.
To a specific school or county?
To 911. It gets sent to 911. And so 911 got it. It activated. I think at the same time it did this, it activated everything. Just as protocol, one school gets it. It's all the schools in this district. They just locked everybody down as a safety feature.
So the officers know which they're assigned certain schools when that goes out.
No.
You got an active shooter in blue.
Well, they knew that it was at Parker. They knew it was at Parker. Officers responded to Parker, locked it down, but all schools went into lockdown, and they sent officers to all the schools. Dispatch sent them all out, and they all went to the schools and did a verification just to make sure they're, or it wasn't a, yeah, there was rumors that, yeah. Yep. So are we done?
Hey,
Okay.
Jeff,
Nope.
just curious if there are any things from your perspective. IT is such a overreaching, broad, it's in every piece of government. If there's anything that can be streamlined to help make things easier on your end, as far as where information goes, how bills are paid. If anything ever comes up or comes to mind, that'd be great to know if it makes your life easier.
Okay, so here's the numbers. Okay, appreciate it. So I got a total net cut from the budget of $995,499 in the general fund budget, which, taking off the $611,000 that we were over, that leaves us a net of $383,846 to look at what we do with from there.
And that,
Okay. Yep. Being watched. Okay. Good luck tomorrow. People on live stream land, we're talking about EMS. She's going to talk to them tomorrow. Yes.
I was just saying, is it irresponsible to just go ahead and assume that we go ahead with the budget as we've created it, and then I'm just starting conversation.
Proceed as is. Okay. That helps. We can actually talk about something.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, we can
right.
actually.
Thank
gonna
you,
pro-
Bobby.
we're
That's
gonna
what, that's
proceed
what I needed
as-
to know.
As
Okay.
the other issue will be resolved.
So I would like to go back and rehash the discussion on the E EIRPC.
My
And get a
discussion was if
consensus.
I'm for nixing it because I don't want to have to negotiate the other part. And last year they were wanting not to pay, so I'd say get rid of it. My opinion.
As someone who's been involved, I understand and I can't disagree. And I've been very involved with it, so
I think if Chad's ready to cut it, I think it's the right thing to do, because you've been closest to it so far.
We almost didn't
I
join it.
haven't seen a lot of benefit, but I haven't been as involved, so if Chad's ready to give it up.
I think there was some opportunities, especially for the school systems and others, but they really just didn't seem to pick up the ball and run with it. I think there's been some opportunities with the RDC in the housing and different studies that they've done.
They have a
but
nice study.
They've really, no one's picked up and ran with it in the county. So I think there was some opportunities for positives, but no one in the county seemed to be willing to pick up the ball and run with it.
I just had a thought about that. Aaron and I are about to schedule some meetings about broadband with them. I'm wondering if I might attend those and see if there might be return on investment before
We're
we make
still a
that
member
call.
through December 31st.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if we decide not to continue and then feel like that's a mistake,
We're a member for another 4 months, 4.5.
yeah, I guess I'm saying I don't want us to miss out if I find out there's something big coming and it would be advantageous for us to be a part of it.
We were on the fence about joining it in the first place.
I guess my only response back, and this is based solely on the fact that we are now employing our own grant writer. The whole premise with most of everything that the EIRPC provides was an opportunity for grants.
And we have ARA
and
as
so,
well.
and then we individually, for the most part, with the exception they did do a stellar, which they were not successful. But they find grants and pass on the opportunities. And then you have to pick it up and run with the opportunity itself. The studies is something that I think was very much a potential positive if anyone would have actually utilized them. The housing study was a huge
good.
deal. It was very informative. I think I sent it to everyone. I don't know if you had a chance to really read through it, but it was very informative.
It was good.
very, very well laid out, but
We've not used it, though.
no one's really
But it's there.
done anything with it. I mean,
But Newcastle had done 2 housing studies, and I don't think anybody had known that over the last 10 years.
so,
Use that, would that be the RDC?
so the RDC could have come up with like a TIF district or could have done some things based on those housing studies. So, I mean, that's my concern. We're investing money in our own employed grant writer.
And ARA.
And I understand Betsy's concern about rural broadband because it is a big deal in Henry County. It's a very big deal.
But Okra's
I'm
doing
not
that, too.
arguing, I can't speak to how great the IRPC is because obviously I have not been able to participate because of their screw up, but I'm not even arguing that we should keep it. I'm just saying if we start these meetings back up with Dickin and Corey Nip and we find out, oh my gosh, there's really, really valuable information for the county and we're heading out the door in a few months.
Do an additional, but right now we have to decide about the budget, right?
Yeah.
So we
I'd
could-
say we nix it, and then if Betsy's like, you're missing out on a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, we do an additional.
Okay.
We can. But I think we can move some of it over to the grant writer and more on ARA.
And I'm excited about that too. And again, I'm not arguing.
They're hiring somebody.
Yeah.
They've interviewed. We don't know yet.
And obviously, I'm not fighting for this, for us to remain. I just the hypothetical, I think it's a low.
Peggy, you said nix it. Susan said nix it.
I'm ready to let it.
Kyle? Let it go. Let it go. I'm for letting it go. Chad? Okay, we're gonna take out the E EIRPC. Okay, and I wanna clarify something because we have people listening. Newcastle has had 2 housing studies done. They have done something with it. I'm just not sure E EIRPC knew that Newcastle did it and combined the 2 results. They have done. I didn't want that to come across that they've done nothing with their housing studies. They have. I don't think we've done much with the housing study E EIRPC has done to date, and that was over a year ago. Clarify, people out there. What else do we have? We talked earlier about rainy day fund. We kind of put the jail matrix that we're emphasizing raises over the jail matrix. Public defenders, did we ever pin that down? The WISP recommendations for public defenders' offices? That was just a kind of a footnote.
I think it was the numbers for deputy prosecutors and PDs.
We're low.
Part of that.
We were low.
master spreadsheet. They were listed in here.
And it was low, as most people
Yeah.
are low. There was some talk with some department heads about trying to get the salaries like assessor, clerk, recorder, treasurer closer because they're all over the map. Not a lot over the map, but they're in some counties, I've been told more than one, but around the state, some are closer. I just throw that out because it was mentioned by 2 department heads. And that's something we can talk about when we talk about the monies, but we'll see. Because we haven't decided if we're going to do a flat increase or a flat percentage. I think we're leaning against percentages. We're kind of leaning towards market value, right, Chad? I think both of ours is trying to get people really close to low market, and some people are at low market. Doesn't mean they don't get a raise. It just they may not get as much a raise as somebody that's 5,000 below low market. And that's what we did last year. We tried to get people closer to low market, and that was our step 1 of a 3-year process. This would hopefully be step 2. Yes, Kyle.
We're talking $16,000 to $18,000 to get to market low on deputy prosecutors and PDs per position.
Yeah, we didn't raise those a great deal in either one of our.
Right. I'm just.
She didn't get any last year because she was on a 2-year contract.
Well, I'm talking about the deputies.
Oh, the deputy?
Yeah.
What page are you on, by the way?
This is. It's like the 3rd from the back. Doesn't have a page number. Yeah. Right. So when we get that info from them, that's something that's going to be more than a.
2 of the 3 judges.
Let's talk
we
an hour
met with,
about it.
Chad and I, they reiterated that, said be careful because we got out of it because of that.
I concur. They both. And then there was some oversight issues and some different things. And then I think it was because the requirements were so strenuous to meet.
I know what the requirements are. I'm just looking at from the WIS, like the cover letter that came with this, one of their recommendations was to set some kind of a matrix and look at the pay for prosecutors and public defenders, the deputies, to get them closer to market to keep and attract attorneys in the county.
Well, according to this, if you look at the chief, they're actually at market.
I'm looking at the deputies,
The
not
thing
the
we
chiefs.
don't know about the deputies and what we need to find out is are the deputies in other offices full-time or part-time? Because that's what this does not show us.
Most deputies are full-time,
Well, see, ours are part-time. They're not.
from the prosecutor standpoint.
Yeah. They're contracted part-time.
So deputy prosecutors can't practice outside of the
No.
prosecutorial roles. PDs are a little different.
So you're talking, okay, I'm confused. I thought you were in public defender. You're in prosecutor?
Some, I'm talking about deputy prosecutors and the
Okay.
deputy public defenders.
Okay, that's where I'm confused. So our public defenders are part-time. And so I'm not sure that all public defenders are part-time.
Right.
And so I don't know how they stack up.
So you're a prosecutor?
So yeah, I'm just looking at
But-
prosecutors then.
Well, you've got the
Okay.
deputy prosecutor felony getting 62.8, and the low WIS is 70,750.
So when Michael and Joe were here, though, I specifically asked Michael if that salary was sufficient.
Said yes.
And he said yes. He said he thought he would have no issues replacing that position, because it seemed, to me, for an attorney, that number seems low.
It is,
But I just-
45?
No, the 62.
62.8.
But Michael felt like that number was sufficient to replace his position and felt comfortable with that number, and it's a number he's been paid for years.
Full market's 80.
Yeah, so I was a little surprised, but again, we're going up against Hamilton County and other counties in these numbers, so it's,
That's all of them, though.
I know, I'm just
Every
saying
one of
that
these.
my bias as an attorney is to attract good talent from like Marion County, where they are extremely busy. People in Marion County leave the prosecutor's office left and right to go to other counties where they don't need training in other counties. You're not getting somebody fresh out of law school that's willing to work at any salary. That's my point, just, we don't have to do,
We need to be more competitive.
we need to be more
Can't
competitive.
compete with Hamilton, but we got to
And-
be more competitive than we are.
As an attorney, I'm just
Okay.
speaking up on behalf of those others that have taken this leap.
Right now, we're paying 7,900 less than low market for that position, and 18,000 less than full market. So that's your point.
Yeah,
I don't
for
know what
one of
Chad
them.
had. I had a $2,500 increase. I don't know what he asked for. Did he ask for any increase at all? I thought he did. No? Anyway, I had a 25 increase, but that was pretty common for those that were, he's 13% below low market, which is 10% below full market, which makes him 22.25% below full market. That's one of the higher. If you get into 20 below, that's pretty high on our list. So I don't get stuck on one position because we're trying to do the whole shebang.
I just made the note about that based on the info that WIS provided.
Right. And the footnote to WIS is what Chad just brought up. They're comparing us with Marion County, Hamilton County, Hancock County, Hendricks County, Johnson County, Boone County, and our tax base is like
Yeah,
eighth,
I understand that.
and about 1/22nd of Marion County.
no, my spreadsheet had the deputy prosecutors at $2,500 increase, but the deputy public defenders at $1,500. Because of their part-time status, I didn't go the full. That was what I did. And then the chief public defender at $1,500.
Okay, we're going to give it to Susan to reconcile your sheet and my sheet, or we'll be going, oh, sheet all day.
So we're up to 403,000 for raises, is that right?
How much?
403,000. And sorry, it shouldn't be that hard to remember, but it is. Okay, 403,000 for raises, and 4% for everyone. Even though we said we're not doing that, we're going to go off market value, was 368. So we're going to be doing better than 4% overall, but
That is
we're
if we
going
don't
to
take
be-
into the part-time.
Correct, which was roughly 60.
I'm guessing.
Was
if-
roughly 60.
Yeah, well, and that is 60 across the board.
Not
It
from
would
the
be.
general fund.
It would be, basically, it boils down to 60 across the board, but about half of that, so it'll be about 35,000 with the pennies for the general fund. So
So
you
we
could
could do
theoretically
that.
do both.
And still on average hit a 4%.
It'd be an average of, but you can't really, I mean,
Right, but it's going to be based on market value.
So Kenan, I guess, here's the thing. I think the biggest difference between mine and Kenan's numbers is,
Is this what you guys sent last?
so,
you sent last
yeah,
night?
mine, I increased deputies' rate at $3,000 for the poll 4s and $3,500 for the poll 5s. Kenan, I think, would cap those out at $2,500.
Kept everybody off at 2,500. And I
Okay.
gave more to the rest of the county.
And then the way my spreadsheet worked was if you were at or above low market value, you got a $500 raise. If you were from 0 to 5%, you got a $1,000 raise. If you were from 5 to 10, you got a $1,500 raise. And if you were above 10, you got a $2,500 raise. That was the way mine worked. I don't know how you broke yours
It
down.
was very similar. I think we give it to Susan and reconcile, because I think we're gonna
Chad, did
push
you
for
make
ours.
that one change we talked about where people who were over, there were only like 3 or 4 people that were over, what, 15% below, or what was it, where we said it was gonna be 500 more, and it was only gonna be another $2,000 or something like that? Did you ever, I'm trying to find your sheet right now.
Susan, I don't remember that.
That's okay. No, that's okay.
So many numbers, I don't
know.
remember that.
So, Kenan, you sent us a bunch of spreadsheets yesterday. Can we work off one at a time so we can all look at them?
Yeah.
Tell me which one we're looking at right now.
They're all the same. It's just one is categorized by job title, one's by department, and one's by
So we don't have tabs
Wislow.
here right now.
I can send this,
Send
I'm
it
sitting here
fresh.
looking at it, so I can send it to everybody.
Which would you like, department, Wislow, or by job category? They're all the same numbers. It's just they're alphabetic, they're arranged differently. Same thing. Are we going by department or job title or job category?
Go by job category, I think.
Job category?
Yeah, that's my choice. And did you send that one? Because I have it right here.
So Kenan, can you give me your bottom dollar again? I can't remember what your total was.
Before Fringe or after?
Before Fringe, it'd be fine.
Okay. I have Kenan's by job category.
But that
386.
includes every department. See, I broke them out. I broke the general versus the other tax
And I told you earlier,
agencies.
take
So
32
maybe we
off.
should go by department because we're going to be
Take 32.
Okay.
That's including
Okay.
highway and
by
health.
department.
So you got 354 for the general. My general is at 295.
Okay.
So that's the difference there.
Let me ask you something, Chad.
Uh-huh.
This Baker Tilly summary of 2023, you took 611 off. That's the net. And with that 611, we were still left at 13.6. Why were you taking the 611 off if that 611,000 left us, according to them, at 13.6 cash reserve?
Because my colleague Peg Steffendale said she would not get behind any raises if we didn't have a balanced budget, and I thought we were all trying to go for a
I'm
a
balanced.
balanced
Well,
budget.
isn't
and Susan-
13.6% balance?
I think the sentiment I got from both Susan and Peg was that they wanted us to have a balanced budget, and then anything was left after that balanced budget was for raises. So that's what I based mine on.
Okay, I guess my question, that I'm unclear with that, I talked this morning about leaving a 15% cash reserve. What they have here with us taking nothing off, the last 3 days was 611 cash flow. And I said that we need 63,000 to take that 13.1 up to 15. That's a balanced budget, 15%. Why are we taking
It's not a
611 off of?
balanced budget, it's just maintaining a certain operating balance.
I think your definition of a balanced
Yeah, we
budget
have
is different than ours.
Well, I'm trying to
Balanced
understand.
Balance to us is we aren't spending any more than we're receiving. And so we're continuing to carry the general fund balance. We're not decreasing the general fund balance at all. That's a balanced budget.
Well, then we're
in-
going to end up
in
with
my
a
opinion.
20% cash
Yes,
reserve.
and we could, which is not
So you're saying go there and then talk down?
Because here's the problem, if you guarantee raises beyond the receivables, when you come to next year, you're gonna have to find somewhere to cut.
So I'm
Because
willing to
those raises are gonna
consider
continue.
spending more than we bring in for a one-time expense, but not for raises.
Yeah, because you have that one-time expenditure.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
I
But
just
yeah,
want-
that's the concern, is that we don't want to, because if we could spend more, we have $2 million in the bank. But if we spend all that, we could give everybody huge raises, and then next year we'd have to fire
No, I just
50 people.
I just wanted to understand why you took the 611 off, because even with the 611 off, we're left with a 13.6% general fund. And I thought our goal was to leave it at 15, which would just mean putting 63,000, not subtract 611.
Yeah, I don't think we have anything in the budget that's not gonna reoccur. except
Agreed.
Unless we decide we won't buy sheriff's cars, or we
Okay.
won't.
I just want to make sure we had the same definition
No,
of
that's
of
what we're
balance.
looking at. We're just trying to spend only the receivables on, especially for wages, because if not, come next year, you guys are going to be behind the 8 ball if you spend it for, but I agree with Susan, if we needed to buy XYZ, if we could spend $8,000 and buy some more mics in here out of it, and I would be okay with that.
We could potentially.
But I wouldn't.
Everybody would be okay with that.
But what I'm saying is guaranteeing future savings on wages is setting us up for a
Right.
potential failure.
And I agree with that. It's just that by doing it the way you're talking about, we've gone from 1% cash balance to 8% cash balance to 12% cash balance to 20% cash balance. And even before all these $995,000 cuts we made, we're still leaving it at a 13.6% balance. Doing that, we're putting a healthy balance in as verified by Baker Tilly with the way we've been doing it. We're putting a big buffer in each year. I'm kind of going back to what Highway said. I'd rather put it on roads than keep it in the bank getting 2% interest.
But we didn't really save money to put in. We just got CARES Act money, basically.
That's, yeah.
24, 23, 24, 25 are expected to be your worst year.
Well, when Baker Tilly talked to us 2 years ago, they said our worst would be 2022, 2023.
IC's saying now, these are going to be your worst years. Your worst years are yet to come.
Okay. I just went on the same page,
Yeah, I know.
the same
We may
definitions.
not agree, but at least we
No,
understand what we're
I'm not,
saying
and
now.
I'm not disagreeing.
I mean-
I just want to know what your definition was and what
Yes.
So,
what your
Debbie-
goal was.
Sorry, I moved back here. My laptop was dying, and I wanted to pull up the spreadsheets. I know the collective wisdom the last couple of years was this was going to be our lean year, but your more up-to-date information is saying, like, we're going to still continue to be pummeled. So,
Especially now that we're in a recession.
right.
And that's why we're wanting to give more
And
raise than
inflation.
we have in the past.
I think that the most likely scenario is it gets worse. I
Yeah.
mean, that's what it looks like is happening. Every time I go to the grocery store, it looks like it's getting worse. So,
If we had depression, nothing we're going to do is going to rectify that. We're not going to solve anything.
So, I mean, it sounds like obviously we want to give raises and we want to be as generous as possible, and we have to be remotely competitive to get workers, but it also may be that we need to take a conservative posture on, not assuming we're going to have the same money next year.
I don't think we need to, okay, this is just Susan. When our people are underpaid, I don't want to better than balance. Okay, but I don't want to spend cash reserves on an ongoing expense. So that's,
I
to me,
concur with that.
That's conservative, but just, I mean, if we don't give back any extra that we have to our people, that's a bad message that we
Right.
send for how we feel about our
Right.
people
No, I
right
think
now.
we're on the same
know,
page there,
I
but we
know.
also need to be mindful of the future, and there's a balance there. I'm just not quite sure.
Well, I think that's where that healthy balance that Kennan's talking about could
Will
come
help
into
us.
play. If, for some unforeseen reason, we did have a really bad 23 or 24, you've got a 20% balance that you could pull several $100,000 out of to make up the difference. Now, that means, maybe means that year you won't be able to do raises, or you may have to make some other more painful cuts, but you wouldn't have to do near what you would have to do if you spent beyond your receivables.
Of course, the state of Indiana could really help us out if their billions of dollars of cash reserves would trickle down, but that never happens.
None of
I
that.
think you have more friends down there than we do, so why don't you pass that along?
Oh, believe me, we talk about it a lot.
So
Yeah,
Chad,
$250 if we're given to counties for the shortfalls they've done since the tax caps, that would help us more than each person getting $250.
if our assessed values come back down from this like housing bubble, what would we expect that to see? I mean, how much did our assessed value help? Our
Well, it's
increase
such-
in assessed value help?
It's so
with what we
screwy
bought?
because
It's
then.
very hard to predict.
So then the tax rate may just go up.
Right, that's
Because
true.
that's, so it's,
'Cause-
it's
yes.
not a direct one-on-one correlation.
really hard
Because
to think through.
if the assessed values go down, then the tax rate's going to go up to recover, but because we're always going to get that same menial amount. The problem is that the state of Indiana caps us at, what, 3% max? And that was an increase this year. It had only been like 2.4, 2.6, can't remember, it was 2 point something. They actually increased that this year, and so they say, okay, you can only get this much more money, and then they turn around and they figure out the tax rates based on that. And so unfortunately, it's not like a direct correlation, a dollar for dollar thing, which is, I guess, good in your reference, because
I mean, it
if the
affects
assessed
the-
values go down, Peg's taxes go up.
Right, until she hits her cap. And it's just really hard to
Sorry,
find
Peg, you're
money
just sitting there
that time.
smiling.
And we have this thing called a circuit breaker.
Right,
And so the lit, we were discussing, I don't know, we were discussing earlier, the lit has already been absorbed elsewhere. We had a nice increase in lit. We got that
Yes.
printout, that
Yes.
spreadsheet, and it's gone. It's absorbed in other areas.
So I did just send everybody my spreadsheet. I did. Again, I think it all boils down to I guess we need to discuss, the biggest difference between mine and Kennan's is mine's more heavily weighted for the sheriff's department. And my reasoning there was to try to get at least to the city police rate, because we're losing officers to the city police rate.
I didn't get it,
Yeah.
but
And we're losing employees in every department.
there must be a delay.
I've also calculated two things I mentioned earlier. Their tax rate is maxed out. Ours is not. They got a $5,000 premium pay. They're still underpaid, but we also have other departments that they're losing people and can't replace. So I'm looking at the whole county. And if that's construed as I'm anti-police, that's the biggest lie that's ever been perpetrated from these microphones. But I told Sheriff last year, this would be a 3-year process.
Okay.
So 25 on top of the 25, the 3 last year for correctional, the 1,000 pay extra, the 5,000 premium pay this one time. If we took this over 3 years, getting to where they need to be, we can offer other employees maybe a 3% instead of a 2%, for example. I'm looking at the whole county. And I think the climate for sheriffs, law enforcement in this county is much more positive, like we talked about during the false alarm, than it is most places in the country. We can't pay our police what they're worth. So,
Chad, did you reconcile job classification after you?
I did. So all my job classifications are absolutely identical. There was some exceptions because I did make notes on a couple. Like there's a Comet 4 that I put out to the side that we need to check to see if it needs to be an SO.
Which one was that?
It's in the general fund. And then also there's a couple PATs that need to be changed in the HR in the commissioners is still labeled as a PAT 3. That should be an SO position because that person is paid differently.
which one was that again,
The
Chad?
commissioners HR is still, according to what the key, so I based my spreadsheet on Kennan's spreadsheet. And on Kennan's spreadsheet, that position is still listed as a PAT 3.
And it was changed in the ones I sent out last night.
Okay, so it is an SO now then? Okay, and then how about the deputy director at community correction? Because that's listed as a PAT 3, but it has a different salary than any other PAT 3.
Yeah, it's different, but I didn't worry with that too much because it's community corrections and we don't deal with that at all.
Well, I did put community corrections in my,
I did not. It's totally grant.
I understand, but
We didn't last year.
I know we didn't, but she did, so I did put,
Right. She said she couldn't afford what we were talking about.
When you guys decide what to do, we have a copy of it, so.
Yeah, it won't be decided today, but yeah, Monday.
Now, the public defenders,
well, I may or may not be able to be here Monday.
Okay.
that's their,
Okay.
time though, they can do contractual.
I don't see with all the things we still have remaining, unless Susan reconciles our two spreadsheets, because
I guess I'm not under, so can you tell me how you're hoping to, I think the bottom line decision is we need a consensus on, the only difference between the two of ours is you pay more to the lower rated, the ones that are at or above market than I did, and the sheriff's department is the two, that's the only difference between our spreadsheets really, is the sheriff's, and you agree, your thought is the sheriff's, that you cap them at the 25. I went to 3 and 35.
Yeah.
And then the other side is, my bottom was 5, your bottom was 750.
yeah,
I
because
think
the
that's the
poll
only-
five last year got a really nice raise.
So I think
I'm
that's,
looking at that over 3 years.
I don't know what Susan, I guess, do you know what you're reconciling? I mean, because the difference,
No, right now I'm just looking at everything. I don't
yeah,
have a-
the only difference is, that's really the difference is you gave the closer to market rate a higher raise than I did, and I gave
Not
the
much.
sheriff's department a higher raise than you
It's-
did.
No, it's 750 versus 500 on that.
That's a 50% difference, Ken,
What
and that's
did
a
we-
higher raise.
What did we say?
Total
that-
wise, it's
what
less than
did we say the
$10,000.
cost was to bring everyone to low market? How close are we?
$500,000. $565,000 plus bennies, you're talking $660,000. We're halfway there. To bring everybody up to full market is 1.5 million, and then you add the 20 to that is 1.8.
That's higher than I had, but
And
Yeah.
like
I
Ken
have-
was saying, that is being compared to larger counties.
both of ours are compared with low market. We're trying to bring everybody closer to low market. The other thing that I did was look at the AIC.
So what did the deputy prosecutors look like on AIC? Did we get that data on there? Because they are, I mean, that is significant. Can never find. Where is it? Here it is, AIC compare. I don't know if he had everybody. Wait for it. Okay,
Yeah, this is the same,
that's what you have.
and I don't think this has deputy prosecutors listed. Deputy auditor,
It's not on here. No. Public defenders are, but,
I think just the chief PD.
okay. How does our
Yeah, it's not alphabetical.
Who's that? Chief PD? So this is gonna be
I sent it to the
the
countywide email.
Rate
Susan, did you
when
get
you're
my
part
email
of
on the
the
county email? I
reimbursement
sent it to
program.
countywide, I don't know what to tell you.
Okay.
I'm not finding it.
If you're in the reimbursement program, it's paid the same rate as chief prosecutor.
I'm not finding it on the AIC. That-
So that's a benefit to the reimbursement.
One of them,
One of them, right.
but the county pays 60% of that and 40%
yeah.
is paid, yeah. And I'm not saying that program's gonna work, we just have to look at it.
Susan,
Yes.
it's not one the AIC put down, deputy prosecutor.
Yeah, that's okay, I was just curious.
I mean,
was
they
doing
have
something
about
else when you guys
75
talked about it.
positions, and that's not one of them AIC did, so I don't know what that means. It paid out of a different, something other than general fund. I don't know what the other counties, that doesn't make sense.
Now I want to look at it by low market, yeah. Kenan, you are like my husband, and he has all of this data. You have all of these different views for me, and I have to find the right spreadsheet to look at.
Okay,
That
There-
was not an insult.
I know.
Okay. I have to find it, so now I'm back to low market.
Okay,
I wanna
getting,
see where are we leaving people with the raises you see?
well, looking at AIC, patrol deputies were 9 out of 9 counties in our population range. Jail commanders were 8 out of 9 counties in our,
So you're talking about these counties,
matron were 8 out of 9.
right? Am I remembering?
Detective were 6 out of 9. So the
They're 35, 36%.
chief deputy sheriff were 9 out of 9. Sheriff were 5 out of 9. Highway engineer were 4 out of 4.
Okay,
Highway,
130 with 4 out of 4?
well, that's what,
Okay.
it backs it down to what Debbie put in the AIC, which is 65,000. That's with the reimbursement. Highway assistants were 8 out of 9.
At the new 60?
The 62.5 were 8 out of 9.
well, then our fight.
Probation, because of the state, we're in the middle on the state. Public defender, 5 out of 7. Environmental health, 5 out of 6. 911 director, 5 out of 9. Our 911 dispatchers are 9 out of 9 counties. HR is 8 out of 8. GIS was 4 out of 5. Draftsman, there's only, they don't call it draftsman apparently in other counties because we're 2 out of 2, so there's only 2 counties still listed as draftsman. Highway crew leader were 3.
That's where they were going to combine.
Highway mechanic were 9 out of 9.
No, they're also.
Highway equipment operator were 8 out of 8. Truck driver were 8 out of 8. That's why I put 750 instead of 500. We're still the lowest of the 9 counties. Custodial maintenance were 4 out of 6. Deputy auditor, 4 out of 8. Deputy treasurer, 6 out of 8. Deputy assessor, 8 out of 8. Deputy court clerk, 7 out of 8. Deputy recorder, 6 out of 7. The only one we're number 1 is after last year's changes is payroll clerk. We're number 1 out of 8 counties that have that title. Highway administrative assistant were 8 out of 9. The clerks were 6 out of 6. Court reporter were number 9 out of 9. Court bailiff were 7 out of 7. Building inspector were 5 out of 6. Health department clerk were 6 out of 6. So we are low. And that's not comparing with Hamilton County. That's comparing with counties around the state that are population 40 to 50,000. We're just low on everything. Everybody, I guess, except payroll clerk because of that adjustment last year. But everything else, we're in the bottom half. And a lot of them were either 8 out of 9 or 9 out of 9.
So if we make our decision based off of how far we are from low market value, should we be using Wagner or should we be using AIC?
I did both, and I mentioned that on some of these, like the highway where we're the lowest, we did 19%, but we were probably 20% below at that time. We're still 7 out of 8 or 8 out of 9. But we're that across the board. Except for that one position, we are the bottom half of everything.
So Kenan's highest suggested raise is 2,500, and your lowest is 500.
My 500 is just like the coroner that's part-time, counsel that's part-time.
So your lowest for full-time is 750.
Yes.
Okay. And your highest was 3,500 because you went up for the sheriff's deputies. Was anyone else included in that besides the sheriff's deputies? 2,500 for the rest. What was your low for full-time?
500 full-time, and that was for anybody at or above market value.
Did you do anything with part-time?
No, I did not.
Like us, part-time? No. Just
Well, yes, I did. Well, we're not, we are elected officials, elected, so yes, I did 500 for council, 500 for commissioners, 500 for coroner.
I put more for commissioners.
yeah, they worked more than Okay. And Kenan, how much was your total cost again? Yeah.
354 for just the general fund effect is what he said.
I backed out highway and health to be more consistent with, I do not have communications.
Okay, so it's 350,000, and then what is it with the, that's just for the general fund?
Yep.
Are you laughing at me? Because
No.
I've asked these same questions 30 times. And what is it with the fringe for the
So you
general?
add 20, 19% to that.
Uh-huh. Okay. So 416. Okay, and then
421, 260.
421.
260, yep.
Okay, and then Chad's was,
General fund is 295.
with fringe?
351, $50.
So if you went higher than for the sheriff's deputies, you went lower for other people than Kenan did? Because
Did.
yours is
I,
less
my
expensive.
bottom was 500. And there was, I think there's like 40 people, give or take, in the entire county that are at or above low market. So it was a little, we're very, very close on, I would say, I'd say probably close, 60, 70% of ours are getting the exact same raise.
So we have how many sheriff's deputies? 19?
Sorry?
How many sheriff's deputies do we have?
Oh, 26 total.
So,
The sheriff's, so I did break mine out, and I broke the sheriff, jail, 911, and probation out separately. So my sheriff's raises were $77,500 of the
did they all get
295.
3,500 or just our road deputies?
So any of the road deputies, the poll fours got 30, the poll fours got 3,000, the poll fives got 3,500, and then the chief deputy got 3,500. Because it's an SO major, I don't know how it's labeled in here, but the major position got 3,500, the poll fives got 3,500, and then the road deputies, the poll fours got 3,000.
I know that we did more for the sheriff's department last year than we did for others. So I'm kind of torn between the need and 17.
So, I mean, they did get a little bit more. But again, we are also 9 out of 9 on the WISC list. They can literally drive 2 blocks down the street. Well, not anymore, but they could have driven 2 blocks down the street and got a $3,000 raise to cover a fourth of the territory. And that's where I was basing my higher number on. Plus the fact we're going to have a heck of a time hiring, and we've got a number of open positions.
So we have 403,000 for raises. If we take 30 of that for part-time, then we have 370, so.
You do have to throw some fringe in there, so it's probably 365, because you got to throw about 5 in there for the Social Security Medicare tax you have to pay on part-time.
So we can afford Chad's version. We can't afford Kenan's version.
Depends on what the cash balance is.
What do you mean by that? Depend on the cash balance. Are you
So you're
that
saying
it's
if we
not-
overspent
we
our
overspend, we
receivables?
can?
Okay. That's always an option. I don't know that some of us are liking that option on salaries, but we could overspend we could overspend the receivables.
It doesn't raise taxes.
It doesn't raise taxes, but it just sets you up for next year having to figure out how to pay for it, because you may not have the same receivables next year.
Right. And just hypotheticals, if that's the case, then maybe the economy's better, and at that point in time, if taxes have to be raised to support the county employees, if that's the case.
That may mean next year, instead of a 3 or 4% raise, we got to give a 2% raise. I mean, we're giving as much as we can, I
Right.
think. I mean, is the
Can't get
goal.
one at all.
And
That's not the goal, I know that.
And it's a 3-year process to get everybody close to low market. We'll never get full market. 'cause
We over budgeted raises 30,000 last year, accidentally, because there was reconciling errors when we reconciled job classification stuff. And that worked out okay. But just want to be really careful with it.
We could give the raises that Chad has lined up without getting into our reserves
Not for a year and a half from now.
What, I mean, if you're afraid that you can't ever do that again, then why would you be willing to risk putting out more money? And then the revenue is not what is predicted.
Or-
If things are going to get worse. So why would you take that chance?
Well, I don't think we're taking any chance. We're leaving a big buffer, and we've added a considerable buffer every year. So I think the risks are absolutely. Okay. Well, we're going to come down to a vote here in a little bit.
The consensus.
That's right.
So we could always do, I mean, it's not a mine or his. We could come up with a hybrid of the two and reduce
Like we did
his
with
in a few
commissioners.
spots. And
Right.
because he would basically, I figured the numbers, and so if we wanted to stay balanced, to get to, Kenan would need to reduce his by about $42,500. His $354,000, he would have to reduce it by $42,500, and that would balance the budget out again. Now, I don't know exactly where that gets reduced from, but I mean, I've looked at Kenan several times too, but I mean, that's where so here's where we're at. We're at $42,500 from being balanced. But I did take away the 20%, because it's more than that, because I took away the 19%, so it's a little more than that, but yeah, we're right at 50 plus 52,000, 53, about $54,000 that we would have to cut total, because that's how much we would be over budgeted if we continued right now. We would be about $55,000 over budgeted.
If you give someone a $500 raise and they make $30,000, that's less than 2%.
I don't think there were any $500. I don't think it was that.
Not full-time.
Yeah, I think those got thousands.
So everyone-
I mean, most of the ones, so I can tell you, out of the general fund, I gave Commissioners Council and Coroner $500.
And I gave commissioners more.
I gave Assistant Building Commissioner, because it's over budgeted, $500. It's over low market, I'm sorry. Maintenance Technician, $500, because it's over market, over low market. Chief Deputy Auditor is over low market. Draftsman, no, I'm sorry, Building Inspector.
Chief Deputy, her job description along with payroll before me, prior me, was changed. Their job descriptions are not chief deputy and payroll. That's what
Building Inspector, it was over market. That was another one that got 5. According to all of the, according to the WISC reports, all of our elected officials are at or above market value. So so the recorder, the assessor, the treasurer, the clerk are all at or above market value.
Low market or market?
Low market value.
And
So
they're-
is the auditor. They got $500.
And they're 9 out of
Yeah.
9 on the AIC.
Yeah. I totally understand.
cents an hour raise is what it is.
Keep going.
That's it. That's,
So who falls under your 1,000?
falls under the 1,000.
Is it too long to read?
It's a
all that?
lot.
Okay, let me see if I got it yet. Let me check it
I
out.
can go by classes and get you easier. So all the Comet 2s were 1,000, Comet 3s were 1,500, Comet 4s were 1,000.
I finally got it. That is at least a 3% raise.
Yeah, Comet 4s are 1,000. Pat 2s are 1,500. Pat 3s were 1,500. Pat 4s were 1,500. Yeah, and that's the majority of, I mean, the poll 4s were 3,000, poll 5s were 3,500. LTC 2 was 2,000. LTC 3s were 500, and LTC 5s were 500. Those are the highway department.
I have a comment, a footnote. You said on Wagner, Irwin, Shealy, we're at high on the elected officials, but on AIC, which are comparing with counties more like us as far as a total assessed valuation, treasurer is 9 out of 9, auditor is 8 out of 9, clerk is 8 out of 9, assessor is 9 out of 9. Only the recorder's in the middle, they're 6 out of 9. So that's where I was weighing AIC, a hybrid with WIS, because we talked about WIS being lumped in with Central Indiana, so
County council's that?
we're 3 out of 9.
The assessor, okay, now hold on.
We're 3 out of 9.
So if I'm reading you
Out of
right,
9 counties. We're actually one of the higher ones.
so my difference in the recorder, I had 5, Kenan had 750. In the assessor, I had 5, Kenan had 1,000. In the treasurer, I had 5, Kenan had 750. On the clerk, I had 5, Kenan had 1,000. On the auditor, I had 5, Kenan had 1,000.
It's the difference between weighing the AIC.
Is that what you did? You're saying you included that as well?
AIC and WIS.
I based mine solely on the WISC.
Right.
The WISC numbers is the low market WISC numbers, and I, like I said, mine were broke down exactly. I didn't wane from the percentages. So that's what mine was based on, was the WISC numbers.
And that's why I say Susan breaks the tie, because I'm not gonna.
Yeah, and the chief deputy auditor, Kenan was at 1,000, I was at 500. I mean, that just based solely on the numbers. But that's why I'm saying I think we could come up with a hybrid, or come up with a,
Yeah, decide where to go from here. So our road deputies were also number 9, lowest
We are
on the road. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Number of raises that were given over the past decade is like minuscule.
Right.
Remember, you got to put in the 34,000 because if my staff doesn't get changed to SOs, they don't get the raises I requested, then I'm hiring that position. I'm not asking those
Right.
folks to do the job.
And that would be expected. Given those ifs, that would be, that
so yeah,
would have to.
if you do that, then that takes our number down to 370,000.
Right. And we're just brainstorming. So I think we're
So
closer
you're
than we
saying
are.
if we don't pass the raises exactly as you put them in the sheet,
It doesn't have to be exactly as I put them, because I want to make sure that everybody's fair. If you give a 4% raise, I want to make sure they all have 4% if that's not what's in it. I can't remember, it's been so long ago since I did them. I don't remember what they were. But I took the 34,000.
So I actually just calculated it. So Debbie, yours was a 20% raise. First deputy was 3%. Deputies were 11%. Clerks were 12%. Draftsman was 3%. Bobby's was 19%. And the drafting technician was 4%. Right, 35,614. So how much of your salaries was a raise and how much was this hourly rate for meetings? Because I think we need to know.
I'm not against that, because they do that extra. There's a lot of counties that do things a little different than we do. All in favor?
Aye, you keep it and you take the money.
I don't want it, but I think they deserve it.
I have it here. I just wanted to see what the percentages were, because I wanted to make sure they were gonna be at least what we were doing for other people. Right.
And if we did that, allow that for Debbie, I have a feeling other departments maybe will go back and, okay. We, right, right. That's half her staff almost. If we did that, there'd be no way we could reconcile all this by August 25th. I know that was a goal, that we not push it back like we did last year. So that's the balancing act.
October, and I've already advertised it. I have to call the state and see if I can even undo that.
Okay.
I've already advertised.
But if we did what Debbie was saying, and I'm not against it, I think we need to open it up to other departments, and that's going to push things back.
You would still have time. You could still do your public hearing in August,
Okay?
and you could still do your adoption in September. You just have up until, let's say, the second week of September to get it done, for us to have time to put it in the system.
Yeah, because we're doing raises again, which I know is a lot of work for you guys. so-
And we can't do it the week before, and I can't do it in
We're-
October. I've done my person.
And we said last year cannot be repeated. It just backed everybody against a wall.
So what if we did for you guys the 6,000 for the 2 sets of meetings, and then it's gonna be 500 or 750, like, I'm just trying to, what is for the meetings and what is for the raise? Because we need to uniform your raises with other people's, and then consider that other pay separate, I think. Otherwise, it looks like we're giving you a $10,000 raise for, that we're not giving other people. Needs to be a reason, and there is a reason, but we need to, I think so. I think so.
For legitimate reasons, other counties give that extra. I'm not for giving the president more.
You earn it though, but I
No.
hear ya. None of us are gonna fight you, even if you get another $500.
I'd like to see it to go to raises across the county. Broken record, I'd like to see everything possible go to raises across the county.
Ken, and just for clarification, you're saying that we should not take the raise and instead distribute it to county employees? Oh,
For being the president.
okay. I just couldn't hear.
I know, it's hard to hear.
I mean, I don't know about, Bobby Plummer, which may be different next year. We're not talking Cannon, we're talking about future presidents.
Council's salary
500,
is so low
500.
because everybody was scared to take it for years.
That's just a sign that they weren't giving raises appropriately to other people like they should have been, right?
Well, if they're number 3 out of 9 counties, they're doing pretty well. Council is doing pretty well.
Yeah,
Commissioners are 7 out of 9.
right.
Commissioners are not. That was one reason I think I put 750 there. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because they're lower,
Yes,
and they're in every day.
and they're working more full-time hours.
Probably because they were 7 out of 10, or 9, I'm sorry.
So Chad, what's our number then if we kind of rectify the auditor's department? It was 370.
If we take out the auditor's department, then we have to stay down, because that's 34,645 is what the raises that they have asked for. Plus you have to add the 19% on there, because we got to put it in for perfect. That's $41,200 that would go so out of that 403, 41 would go to the auditor's raises. So that would leave 362 for the rest of the
What
raises.
about the full-time employee
So
whose
what if I
insurance
take and
benefits
give you
you?
that 10,000 of my part-time money and just keep 10,000 of it?
Okay, well, then that would increase it to 372.
And we don't have to pay insurance on the employee that she's,
That's true, but we also cut the insurance, remember, slightly.
I know.
So if I gave back 10,000 of my part-time money, that would help some.
So, and I think we need to add the line item for the meeting pay, and then whatever percent we give people, then it's more uniform. This is what
So
I'm thinking.
let me clarify, because is Bobby getting based on the meeting pay or not? Because her income, her salary is based on a percentage. It doesn't have to be, frankly. I mean, that was
It doesn't have to be.
used to be the way to do it. but it's a
80%.
percentage.
Her-
Well, hers is actually 85%, because,
Well, she was one that they took out the
Okay.
I think we keep the percent the same, and then we insert the line item for meeting pay, because their salaries are still gonna go up and down.
It still shows it as a CD in books. So, yes, it still shows it as a CD. It still shows. See, I don't think the job class was actually changed. I remember that they fought to get Cheryl the 85%, but I don't remember the job classing changing. I know that she was the only one that got 85%.
Ann would have that.
So Ann might be able to tell us.
Ann, could you go double check if the chief deputy for auditor is a CD or SO or whatever?
Is
What
that
the
position
job category is for,
the class?
If Wes has it on their thing as a CD, as a chief deputy, then that's what it is.
Yeah,
It is.
that's what it is.
Same thing Ann has.
it's listed CD.
It's listed as a CD. I don't, yeah. So basically, at that time, they changed it from the 80 to the 85, but they didn't change the class, correct? They still classed it as a CD. Okay, so it's still a CD. It's just that department gets 85, the others get 80. So if you separate the line item, that's what I'm asking. Do you then have to, do you have to include that with the chief deputy's salary or not to get there?
So when you add up the cost of the auditor's budget, then you have to subtract out the other raises that you're already estimated to give them, as they're included in here.
That's correct. So you would have to go through, and that's what I was getting ready to do. It won't be anywhere near,
It's not anywhere near,
anywhere near.
but it does offset it a little bit.
While you're looking something up, Wegner Irwin Shealy said chief deputy sheriff is not based on 80%.
It's not. That's the only, and it's, for some reason, they still class that as a major and not, instead of a chief deputy.
And that's the way it is on counties that we're compared with. It's not at the 80%. So chief deputy auditor is not 80%. Sheriff chief deputy is not 80% of sheriff. But everybody else is in at 80%, like within 1% of 80. And that's been historically for years.
And that's why, if you remember in our original discussion, I had actually upped the chief deputy to $45,000 in the sheriff's department, but you especially got, we brought up, so I brought it back down in my update.
I brought it down because the chief deputy currently is 10% above low market. That's the second highest in the county. Going back to your Wegner Irwin Shealy, it's already above market. We have very few people that are, well, we have about a dozen people that are above market. So if we're using Wegner Irwin Shealy, that is already well above market by 10%. Are you reconciling, Susan?
I'm trying to find
I told Chad, I'm not going to arm wrestle because our similarities are much greater than our differences.
So I was just gonna. I am too, we have to figure out what it is.
So I had the auditor's office at 10,000 total in raises.
Total impact of raises in the auditor's
Was
department
10,000.
Okay. That's with their meeting money too, or is that separate?
No, I'm just saying,
Oh, that's what you worked
on my spreadsheet was $10,000. I can now figure out what Kendon's was, so we can do that real quick. Hang on.
He's figured. I'm just concerned every department are losing people and then finding it exceedingly difficult to rehire, especially when we posted in the past, we'd get 8 to 12 people apply, and now we're getting 3 or 4, and 2 of them drop out, and one of them they find out in 6 months either not capable of doing the job or they move on. So I'm getting back to Susan. If we don't increase raises across the board over the next one, last year was year 1, this year, year 2, next year, year 3, this is going to just be an increasing problem. We are not competitive.
We're not competitive, and sorry, didn't mean to be so loud. Didn't mean to yell. But I really worry about the institutional knowledge that walks out the door. We've had so many people retire, and I know that you can't add a tangible number to that, but when you have people who've been here for years who leave to go to the private sector, I mean, they take a lot of knowledge with them, and that's, you know, when Debbie's whole office is brand new, it just...
Right, because Debbie doesn't want this job forever, probably.
Right.
His was at 12.5. His was at 12.
His was gonna be 12.
Yeah, so we're right, very close. I mean, very close. No, I mean, it all boils, here's the thing, at this point, at this point, with taking the auditor, giving that 34,000, adding back in 10,000 from the part-time, we have $297,600 raw to mess with, to get us a balance.
Including our part-time money.
Including our part-time money. We have $297,600, including the part-time money. And that did take away for the fringe. We have more than that, obviously, but that took away for the fringe benefits at 20%. Because we have 372,000 with the fringe included.
I just want to say, we are so much better off today than we were a year ago. We started out needing to shave 1.9 million or 1.5 million.
The budget was wrong. They duplicated everything in safety lit from the general fund.
Nevertheless, where we started last year was much worse than where we started this year, and that was because we were being fiscally sound and conservative over the last 3 years.
So if you figure we're at 300,000 and we need 35 for part-time, that leaves us 265,000 for full-time, which is, my number was 295, Kennan's was 354. So we'd have to cut back on either one totally, in some fact or another.
I mean, this is a stupid comment because we all feel the same way, but I hate the idea of giving someone less than $1,000 raise right now. I mean,
Well, you're talking full-time.
right.
Yeah. I gave the highway department 750 because they were 9 out of 9, but we gave them a 19% raise, which helped the bleeding. Now we need to help other departments with the bleeding.
I mean, the highway department, we've already made a lot of progress on, and I feel like the health department is more sound too.
They're more
But
sound.
people being paid from the general fund.
Is that in counting council?
Somewhere between 2,500 and 33,000, yes, more than last year.
I'm just asking,
Not,
because I'm going to try to figure out what the difference would be.
No, I mean, we're part-time, even
So
though we're
now,
exempt.
commissioners, 1,000
We're
then?
talking about the people who are trying to live off what we pay them.
Well, I think the commissioners now come in daily. I'm not sure all 3 of them did prior, historically. But truck driver, that's most of the highway department. They're 8 out of 8 counties in AIC. And that's after a 19%. We stopped the bleeding. But we need to stop the bleeding in all departments, including law enforcement, including all departments. Otherwise, the brain drain that Betsy alluded to, it's just going to accelerate. Your good people are going to leave because they can get paid 10, 15% more anywhere. By your wife, like 30% more.
They're in the same boat.
Sure. We all agree. It's just, what's the best step forward this year? Yeah. And we probably will be next year too. So is the reason why our people are so highly taxed and we are in the straight situation that we're in because of the debt that we have accumulated? We had a very, right. But when we look at when you did the AIC stuff for us, we have a much higher tax rate than any of the counties our size in the state. Right. So our debt service is 3 times anybody else's. So that's, when we talk about renewing GO bonds and things like that, at least if the tax rate's the same, but. But these other counties are making it work. The ultimate mystery. Their assessed value is
industry.
just not as low. Yeah. Our assessed value is. We are, it's gonna come, right?
Because of all the box warehouses going up all around them. Boone County, drive from Indianapolis up to Lafayette. Boone County is nothing but huge warehouse after huge warehouse after huge warehouse. You're seeing that along 70 in Greenfield. I don't think people want to see, we need manufacturing or we need jobs, but I'm not sure we need warehouse jobs that might have only 30 people working inside this huge warehouse on forklifts. But we're so desperate, I think they'd almost take anything. Right, Chad? We just want jobs, but hopefully they're being picky. I think they are.
Well, the jobs today are not the of yesterday. That's the problem. A $22 an hour job from one of these new factories coming in is a great job in today's economy. People were making that in the 80s working at Chrysler.
Mm-hmm.
That's the difference.
That's exactly right.
Those jobs do not exist. I mean, thank God my grandparents retired under those UAW wages. That's why they can afford to live down here at Forest Ridge. You're not going to find that with the new jobs today. They're just not there.
My secretary's husband was a custodial, janitor, custodial. He made over $100,000 because he'd worked at Chrysler for 40 years.
Me too, because I know someone who's in the same scenario.
Might be. They made $100,000 because of all the years and the union contracts. They had a huge matrix. You stick around at 5,000, 5,000, 5. Custodian making over 100,000. Those jobs are.
I was a custodian I worked a year down there.
So was Tom Saunders in this courthouse. He started out as custodian in this courthouse. There's hope for us.
Back then.
I remember when baling hay, I went from $1 an hour to $1.10. I thought I was rich. And I wouldn't recommend that job, but everybody should do that at least once in their life. I told my son that he needs to do that, and he just laughed. I went back to college instead of quitting because I had a factory job in a sweatshop. And I said, I can't do this all my life. And I went back to college, even though I wanted to quit. But I could not see working in a sweatshop. And they always wanted, we were part-time because it was summer work from college. They expected you to sign up for overtime and extra hours. If you said no, they put you in a worse department. That was worse sweat, so.
Okay, Susan, so if I took and made no raises less than 1,000 in my spreadsheet, it comes out to $307,500 in the general, 11,000 in the park, 19,000 in the highway, 16,500 in the health, and for a total of 344,500. Now, I need to check the highway.
There's 8.
I gave a 0 raise to the new assistant superintendent.
Yeah, we just did that. That's done.
Yeah, I did a 0 raise for that position.
Okay, dispatch, 1, office manager, 2, truck drivers, 9, so that's 11. Crew leader, 12, 13, 14, 15, plus 5, 20.
I'm only coming up with 20. I thought there was more employees than that.
They have 22, so it may be that they have 2 more that they could still, yeah, they do. They have 20.
The disadvantage.
But I didn't
of
give
what
much.
Suggested is that then we're not moving towards market rate as much, right? Yeah. Increasing the disparity between people. I don't know. So we could do that. That's an option with the $1,000 minimum raise, which would be close to 3% for most people, depending on how much they make now.
I think most people would, the only people that honestly wouldn't would be the highway department would be the one that's most affected, because they currently make 34,
Right.
and 3% of that, it's right at 1,000. There'd be like 2.8 or 9.
Who else would we not giving 3% to?
There, I've got the dispatch is 34, 36, 39, so they're at 2.5%.
They're the, yeah.
So they're at 2.5%, give or take.
Here's the disparity.
Now, Joe obviously would not, getting $1,000, his would be way different than that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but again,
Here's the disparity between AIC and WIS. WIS has most of the highway department close to low WIS, but you compare their number 9 out of 9 when you look at the 9 counties. So there's a disparity there. And there probably are for others, but that's probably the most noticeable one. I gave him $750. Not
well,
1,000. I gave him
and honestly, the
$750.
sheriff's department is the exact same way. If you look at WISC, according to WISC, nearly every single person in the sheriff's department is overpaid from low market.
You look at AIC and
You look at ARC, we're number 9 on the list. Yeah, so it's why it's very hard to use these numbers for any real data points.
I would like to see this come in and give
Explain how to use their data a little better. So for your line item for meetings, how much would be in there?
Was it 6?
6 for each, or was it 3 for each, or 6 for each? Okay. And then you would take the raise, what raise then? Are you giving 5% for yourself? Including both of you? and you're all 9 of you. And then, and tell me the total again. What, that makes you break, that's the 34,000 you gave up. I like it. We lost Chad's calculator, but. Okay, so 5% raise for everyone. And 6,000 for the meetings. My answer is that they gave up an employee, and if they are also willing to give up an employee, we would love to give them a 5% raise as well. That's my answer. But no one here likes me right now. So you answer and come up with a better answer. I think it's fair. They're doing more work. That's what I've been saying for years. It's more than fair. Yeah. I don't know. It's great. And I think that potentially Bill could too, from what he's said in the past. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but yeah, he did, but filled it with someone that I love. But yeah, he filled that position. Yes. Yes. Right, okay. Yeah. Yes. So if Bill did it like you say, he'd have to actually let someone go. That's different, yeah. Sure, I agree. Yep.
Deputy prosecutors aren't part-time. They're restricted in what they can do outside the office,
Okay.
but they can practice outside. I just talked to Michael
Okay.
Mahoney.
That makes it a little easier
It
to
does,
swallow.
yeah. Because I was like, wait a second, this can't be right.
Right.
So,
I think we should, I mean, if that's under our purview, we should look into it. If not, we should.
What is that again? I was
Purchasing
sidebarring.
agent.
Oh, purchasing. Yeah, we've talked about that.
Last year we talked about, property the county owns in different places that we could potentially sell.
She's balanced it down to, yeah.
Didn't we have some other creative ideas last year?
I mean, that was one we never followed up on, but that was a good one.
We talked a little bit to Bobby about, I remember being else talking about like the county owns property in different places and it just sort of sits and does nothing and it could be offloaded. I don't mean like the annex, I mean like the spot in front of Walmart that.
We have a lot of land.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I mean, can we offload assets that are just?
yeah, that's not our purview.
I know, but, they want money from us. saying that that's our duty, but we could talk to them about it.
Are there other departments who have a vacant position right now that we should? That we could make this, we're getting really close to, you know, what we need for Kennan's proposal.
Do we know what happens if Bobby's meeting with the mayor doesn't go well?
I think for this year, we fund it through ARPA, and then next year, we're just in trouble. I mean, it's hard. I look at these tax rates, and have you seen the tax rates from counties our size that Kennan put together? We're, I mean, more than twice what other counties our size are being taxed, and then what'd you say? To what? Oh, to the raise proposal? Okay. I didn't get an update from Chad after Debbie's. Is that what you had planned on her using and no extra because you'd already backed? But you had.
$372,000 in the general fund.
I move that we use Chad's so that the heat I got last year for using mine goes on him.
There you, okay, so.
I deny that. So I increased everything to a minimum of 1,000, which then brought it up to 307,500. We're still got to figure out something on the highway department because I think there's a couple positions missing here. And that's what I'm going to tell you is we are using something outside of the county to figure this. That's what bit us in the rear last year. And that's why we were $30,000 off. And so when we decide whatever to, and that's where I think fundamentally we just need to decide where we're going to land. And then the three of us, probably me, you, and Kennan, can get together and work the spreadsheet that the auditor provides of every employee in the county, and then work it backwards. Yeah. No, it wasn't. So that's why once we land on a, hey, if you're in between these numbers, or hey, this is our minimum number, then I think we ask Debbie, the payroll clerk, or somebody, to provide us with a spreadsheet from the county, and then we take our spreadsheets, whatever we land on.
You mean like the spreadsheets of what their salaries are now?
I want I don't care what I want every position, and we're going to give raises based on classes, so every position that would include their class. And then if there's one-off things like the 5% that Debbie is saying she's wanting to make all of hers an SO, then we have to go through and do that. But that way, we put it on the spreadsheet that Debbie provides, so when her payroll clerk goes and enters everything, there's nobody missing, there's no classifications that are wrong. This one got 15, this one got 17, there's none of that, and this one got totally missed. So I think we have to fundamentally come up with a consensus on what we want to do. And then we have to go back and actually figure out the impact number based on their spreadsheet. Because we already know there are 2 highway department people missing off this spreadsheet. Are there other people missing off this spreadsheet? But we also know that there's an auditor's office person on this spreadsheet that won't be on this spreadsheet. So, because she's removing that one position. So, I mean, there's some things that, but that's why I'm saying, once we land on, and it'll be very close. It'll be very close. It shouldn't be off by a big number, but we may slightly over budget, Peg, just because of some rounding numbers, but it would be within a few $1,000s, not tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars.
I will confirm that I'm too low on highway, looking at the full report. I don't know where, but it's 22, it's not 20.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's just where we'll need to take it and go back through and actually use their spreadsheet to do it.
I think last year I used the 20 because they had 2 vacant spots and I just carried that over. They filled those 2 vacant, so it is 22. That's the discrepancy.
So, I mean, that would be $2,000 difference. But it's also out of the highway department budget, not out of the county general, so it wouldn't have a major impact. We could I'd say we try to shoot for right at, but we would have like close to 17, 18%. Yes. Yes. No.
What were some of the expenses, whether they were through contracts, so much info, that we're going to drop off next year or the following year?
Expenses as far as,
Some of like, and I'm trying to think, there were some contracts that the county had for property agreements that were not good. I know there was something about Ivy Tech. I'm just trying to go through some of the things.
So they've reduced, they only have $200,000 for all repairs in the county. Ivy Tech would have eaten up half of that just in that repair.
Right.
So they're not accommodating for that.
There was something in the beginning, I just can't remember, Chad.
I don't know of any, because the only two.
Was there a bond that was going to be going away
The
within
GEO bond, but
Yeah.
we are more than likely going to renew that.
Right.
So none of that's expenses, it's actually, Ron's are revenues, so they're
Right.
not expenses.
If I can think of it more specifically, I'll bring it back up. I was just trying to.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I mean, we have 2 leases, which is the YOC and we have the YOC and the Ivy Tech.
Right.
So we have those 2 leases. I know they're trying to sell the annex building. I believe the old 911 building there on Broad and the Hope building. They're trying to sell those, which would all go back into the general fund. But we're talking tens of thousands of dollars,
Yeah, it's not going to be much.
not huge amounts of money. But as far as contracts go, I think Bobby went through most of the contracts. we have,
Yeah.
and they're all staying.
It was the Ivy Tech agreed that they would cover the HVAC
They agreed
expenses.
they'd cover their expenses, which we didn't have enough in our budget to cover the expenses anyway.
It was like $100,000 or something
Yeah.
crazy
We
like
didn't-
that.
We were going to have to do an additional to cover that.
And that might be what I'm thinking of. I thought,
Yeah, because yeah, so Kyle, right now, we only have $72,000 left in our CCD repair and maintenance fund. And so we wouldn't have even had enough we would have had to do an additional just to cover that. So that may be what you're thinking, because they opted to cover that for us.
Right.
And they're still working with the commissioners. I think Steve's working with them, but they're working with the commissioners to take over that facility. They're just ironing out some details.
Chad, we actually, we're both low on highway. There's 2 mechanic positions I didn't have, and there's 2 crew leaders instead of 1, so I was down 3.
Okay. Yeah, I used your spreadsheet as a basis, so.
And I used, apparently that was carried over last year. I tried to look at every department, make sure it was current to this year, but I did not.
So
for
in
highway.
that case, then
It's
it would be,
more.
see, the difference was in that,
The mechanics are 42,000,
you gave them,
same as parts manager. I gave them 750 because they were number 9 out of 9 on
you did, and I took
AIC.
them to 1,000.
Okay, because that was the minimum.
That was the minimum that Susan had. So if you take,
But it's-
you were at 15.5, I'm at 19, so I'll be at 22. You would have been at, what, 17.5. So it's 22,000. They've got enough to carry the extra few $1,000s in their budget.
Yeah. Yeah, you had enough balance left in that updated Baker Tilly. It's 23 total positions.
Yeah, and so that would be 23,000 for them. But I'm not 100% sure that we won't find a position somewhere that we don't have on this sheet.
And we may subtract some.
We may subtract. So that's why I'm saying,
Like her one, I bet it'd be close.
So do you want to leave it fresh, is what you're saying?
I think, yeah, we don't want to short ourselves.
Hey, Kenan, I wasn't paying attention. What's our status right now? Everyone's deep in thought. Have you solved all of the problems that we were currently having?
I think the most important thing is I'm going to give it to Chad so he can take the heat that I got last year on using his spreadsheet.
Chad's proposal with the minimum of 1,000.
That's fine.
we can't do my proposal totally, so we need to crunch some more numbers. We're short. So hang on. So right now, using my proposal, but taking everybody up to 1,000, which means that, now wait a minute, because I actually need to delete some positions. Hang on a second. Because if we're going to do Debbie's differently, then hang on, I need to delete a few positions. So give me a second.
All I know, we have to figure this out, and then we still didn't figure out the part raises. What we're going to allow them to do. Those are the only two things I know we're waiting on. You guys set salaries. It doesn't matter. You guys set that salary. You set every salary in the county. You know. But I don't know where that attitude comes from. He doesn't, he's not a fan of us. I'll tell you that. I thought, and I'm not a mindful, I thought we were very nice to him in the council meeting, given what he said. You were nice. I was nice. This is what I say to my kids sometimes, like, what would it actually take for you to be happy right now?
I put our crib back together and changing table back together. And it's like, uh-oh, stuff's starting to get more real now. I just did that a couple nights ago. I know.
I will add a statement. If we can't make 3%, I feel we've failed.
Yeah, I think that's a fair statement.
I had them figured originally at 1.7 at 750, and I'm still good with that because they make low market now. We gave them a 19, and I told Joe this, we gave them a 19% raise 3 years ago, the highway. Divide that by 3, and they still got 6.5% raise when everybody else got a 3 every year. I'm still okay with giving highway 750 instead of 1,000 because we gave them a 19% raise in 2019.
So how does that go with what you just said?
There are a few exceptions.
I mean, fair isn't always equal.
That is a true statement. And they've got the money because they've got the money in their 1173, 76 Lohut, which I think he's taking salaries out of Lohut because of what we said. But State Board of Accounts depends on who you call.
Okay, so here's
Yes,
here's
it
the
doesn't.
bottom line. If I back out the auditor's raises and I don't look at them at all, we had $372,000 total. I'm at $381,885. We are off by $10,000. So I think it's totally up to you guys. I've made my argument for the sheriff, but if we need to cut it some,
I think the 3,500 needs to go to 3,000 because we gave them a really big raise, and they're at low whiz.
I can give you that. 2 years in a row, they all got substantial raises.
So just the 3,500 and do 3,000 across the board?
Take out the
Because
35 and
now the only argument I will make is for the chief deputy. I really think that should stay because that position is really weirdly paid compared to everybody else.
I
mean-
mean, he's the highest list of any employee.
Okay. All right, so if
And
I
it's going to be a
take,
new person, apparently,
it
but
will
with
be
a lot
for sure.
fewer years of experience than what Jay has.
Okay.
And I'm not talking individual, I'm talking position. I don't know who the new person will be.
Highway is separate. I do have them in mind, but it's just
Put
separate.
it 750, that's 1.7% because they got the 19% 3 years ago, which averages out to 6.5% over the last 3 years, or, 6 point something, 3.3.
So Kenan, are there employees on Chad's plan that are not getting 3% that are concerning to you?
No.
Okay.
I think the council should be just 500 because we're 3 out of 9 counties and we're on the upper end
Yeah.
and we're part-time. Commissioners, I think, should be 1,000 because they come in every single day. And they're number 7 out of 9 counties.
And I know it's not your guys' call, but the emails have been going crazy lately with the Audit Association about council and commissioners getting insurance. And I think we are probably one of the only counties in the state of Indiana that does not offer their insurance to the community.
That's up to you guys. I'm on Medicare.
I think we just take someone pushing it, and right now we don't have any.
I think that's the commissioners.
Yeah. Commissioners, I,
I will tell you that it's court.
okay. Now, aren't you glad you have 143 days and you don't have to answer the feds? Where else are we? I would take the highway back to 750 because of the 19% increase 3 years ago.
Yeah.
We're full-time, we're full-time exempt employees.
I wouldn't take county insurance.
If full-time is 40 hours a week, we're not, but I
Are
see
you
what,
not spending 40 lately, Kenan?
I spend 20.
Yeah.
I get $7.50 an hour, and I'm fine with that because I'm retired.
You do? You make 750? That's great.
20 an hour, 20, I average 20 hours a week. And with 10,000, I get $7.50 an hour. I'm below minimum wage. And that's okay. I am not complaining. I don't want the $1,000 for presidency. I'm fine. I wouldn't do it if I didn't
I would be fine with
like doing it.
I would vote, you work very, very hard.
Well,
Yeah.
and I may not be president next year. So it doesn't matter. Don't look at it as a person, look at it as a position.
I think if the person is doing a good job and like you were doing a very good job and you put in a lot more work than the problem with
That's up to you.
position with more, a little bit more.
Obviously, I would abstain.
Does-
Okay.
Does one of our sheets say where the elected officials would be with their pay raises as calculated?
They're probably
$500 for council,
I mean, for non-council, non-commissioners.
$1,000 is basic. That was going to be my next question.
We were
All the
talking
other
about bringing them
elected
closer
officials-
together.
All the other elected officials are only at $1,000.
And I want to,
The one we did talk about is surveyor, because last year that was a big to-do, and Baker Tilly, somebody asked Baker Tilly for a non-licensed surveyor, it's 40,000, and we're paying 56. Do we want to tackle that list? He relies a lot on the engineer to do things that a licensed person, he has to rely on other people to do things because he's not a licensed surveyor.
So what are we paying them?
48.8.
I was gonna say, I know we are paying.
Did do a non-licensed surveyor's 39.8, or it's right at 40,000.
So he's really, really over.
Well, he's been paid as it's what you brought up last year. I went to bat for him because we didn't have the information to say what we didn't have Wagner, Irwin, Shealy, we didn't have AIC, we were just throwing out a number. We have that basis on that data now. So I throw that out and let you guys wrestle with it. Do we touch it or what do we do? Anything?
I would not. I don't think it's worth it, the problems it'll cause, but I don't know. Other opinions?
Morale, but doing what's right. You guys, we've done Wagner, Irwin, Shealy predominantly with AIC secondarily, not in that position because we have knowledge this year we didn't have last year. So, and I'm not dealing with personality or feedback or slack that we may do. I'm just dealing with that we have. And I'll just throw that out because we have data we didn't have.
Peg and Susan, could you live with $1,500 over? Because I could.
Definitely. And then we need to figure out.
Right now, we're at $373,555. And that's estimating $35,000 in part-time with the fringe. So that means we're give or take on an estimated basis of $1,555 overspent. I could live with that. Peg's shaking her head.
$15 million, we can deal with 10,000?
Sorry?
What was it, 10,000?
$1,555.
1,000 out of $15 million budget, can we live with that?
But so,
Plus our reserve. I mean,
so
Do you have
let
all
me,
these changes?
I
can
have the
live with-
changes, but we're going to, I think we need to meet. So what I would like to do is read through,
Define
the three of us, like we normally do, and go through that spreadsheet.
Okay.
Because we are the ones who have worked on this together the whole time. I mean, I guess we could
If
do an
everybody else is
advertised
okay with
meeting
that.
and do it if everybody wanted to come, but, I mean, all we're gonna do is enter the numbers on her spreadsheet.
I'm abstaining, I'll do it if that's what you want,
Well, I just think
because it affects me, so.
it affects you what, in the,
No, I'm just saying, it depends on the people that's
yeah, I
not
mean,
needed.
we
Is
could
that
have a whole
okay with
meeting
them?
if everybody wanted to
I'm
do
not
that, or we
offended.
could just meet as our normal.
Do you trust us
Yeah.
three?
Yeah, I don't care, they can have my spot.
That's kind of where I was going from abstaining.
Yeah,
As long as Kim and Chad are there, I'm happy to help, or if someone else wants to do it.
Well, you kind of break the tie. You're kind of the unbiased, neutral observer. And that
yeah, I mean, I just know that we've kind of
intelligent,
worked on this
answer
together the
questions,
whole way
answers,
through.
and say, I'd rather see you guys do this, and I don't
Do you
think that's
want,
right.
so basically what this does is it gives everybody in the county a raise, minimum raise of $1,000 up to $3,000. It makes the auditor's office, every single position is an SO position.
Then has to go through job classification,
It-
if you have that.
We can make that decision on this. This is starting next year though, right? Yes. So we can make that decision in the budget
Hey,
without the
speaking
SO.
next year, we need to get back with probation.
And what that doesn't do is do it, so that's what I was getting ready to bring. The probation said that we could take it out of their budget to pay for that with their longevity. So I say we we can talk about this year, but I think we can definitely budget for it next year out of their budget because they've been willing to remove that from their budget. They did,
So they can do it anytime or wait till January?
well, we need to discuss this year. They say they have the funds, and they have not spent at all in that fund that they're taking it out of, but
Who would like to tell Judge Crane that we're not going to go along with what he suggested?
the liaison sitting down there. So basically, this would give every employee in the county a $1,000 to a $3,000 raise, starting in January. It would make all of the auditor's office an SO position. And it would also include a small raise for every part-time employee. Now, the only thing we need to discuss is the park, and that comes out of their fund. So, I mean, does everybody feel comfortable with that?
I wanted to look at they had what, the 3 different proposal sheets again?
Okay, I'm talking about general fund.
Here as an elected official, you realize she is going to make at $50,000 more, or $50,000 a year. She's going to make more than a couple of the elected officials.
I understand that, and that's why we want to talk about it.
Superintendent who is not qualified. She does not. Our provincial secretary is still doing her work. Yeah, she's not qualified. And now, I'm not saying anything bad against Casey at all. I like Casey. She's a nice girl. She was thrown into a bad situation. But with that being said, and a park superintendent making more than an elected official is kind of sad.
And that's what,
That's a slap to the county. That's a slap to the elected official. I mean, it's
So-
only $1,000 less than me.
So I will tell you that I gave her a $2,500 raise on my proposal. Kenan gave her a $4,000 raise, I think, on his proposal. Is that right?
I don't remember that. If it was, it based on this.
Oh, that was,
Okay, first,
It was from her part-time,
that's what I remember.
all of it for next year is from part-time.
six. Yeah, but it was only 76. It only ended up being, I think, letter.
Where the hell did I put all that crap? I think I got rid of that stuff on.
Chad, I gave Park Superintendent 2,500.
So I think she's saying 7,400 on here, but I don't know if that'll go up next year or not. Most of hers are at a lot of hers are at the 1,000. So we could double check, but I think that's what she needs. Okay, all right.
What page is the park on? Oh, I found it. 25.
I want to correct something Chad said. I gave Park Superintendent a 2,500.
Okay, yeah, I see yours now at 25.
Okay. And I had a question mark on secretary because that's going to part-time.
Yeah,
So I didn't put
it's
anything in
gone.
for secretary.
Yeah.
I really and truly do not know how a park superintendent's gonna do it, which is that's a lot of work. Explain to me. I mean, I've not been in it, Caitlin's been in it, she'll even tell you she doesn't know how. But
I think they'll be back next year asking for a full-time.
So I have a question. Is there any, what do people think about the fact that the 41,671 used to include a housing option? What are people's thoughts about that?
I think it's a commissioner's decision.
No, but there's a financial value associated with it. How do we feel about the fact that that was probably a $12,000?
Well, the previous superintendent didn't have a house and was making 41,671.
I think that was a Kim Kronk thing because of a relationship, and that's the only reason she had it. Kim Kronk and the previous, she literally lived with him for a while. So
More of what we said earlier.
I think that's what it was.
25 years, I've only lived a boy that I can, she's the only one that's lived in it. Brett's boss all kept a hut, they didn't live in it, they had their own house.
they just,
Long,
long time, several years.
20?
Well, see, I
She was at the park for 17 or 18, but
Yeah, I
she had
have
a
to do
position
the
about 10
town
years.
side, maybe, because she worked under Rex, and I think I was treasurer.
She had it for about
I
10
was
years.
treasurer when Rex was after 2003 when she died. So she lived in the house for like
17 years.
12 years.
17 years. So for 17 years,
Well, the whole time she was superintendent.
this is why she was superintendent. I'm not,
Because I don't think she had the full 20 years in, because remember, she didn't get the payout.
yeah, I'm not sure how
So
long that she.
I think it was
actually-
like 10, 12 years that she.
Yeah, maybe 10 years, maybe.
I have to agree with Debbie. We can't pay our superintendent.
So at
From
my,
an elected official standpoint, is there a way that we can also, when you guys run numbers, look at what bumping them up to market low is, just from a numbers
Well,
standpoint?
market low's 49.
No, I'm talking about for elected officials.
just elected officials. That's the problem. Most elected officials are already at market low. That's why I had them only in a $500 increase.
And AIC, they're lowest of low.
Yeah, they're low, but in the
know.
WISC, they're almost all of the elected officials are at market low or above.
Yeah.
With the
This must be the full market, okay.
full market, no, they're not. But market low, every single elected official in the county is at market low.
49.
But again, I don't know how that's
I
based.
don't know
in-
what kind of park.
I don't, exactly.
Are we talking Brown County versus Memorial Park?
Yeah. Yeah, there's only 3, I think. I don't know how they,
Creek is Marion County,
yeah.
5 times bigger. West.
WISC. Does AIC even have it? I don't think AIC even had it because there's so few. So at my 2,500, it's a 6% increase in her wages at 2,500. Kenan and I both had it at 2,500. That would be a 6% increase.
Susan, going back to your point about the perk of the superintendent having the housing, I hear you there, like but we also have a precedent now where Tracy wasn't given the option and now, so maybe it's okay to sort of let that drop
I
off.
just wanted to, I mean, I think we need to say out loud that
Well, I was at the park board meeting where they said they could no longer keep affording the maintenance on a house that was starting to have major
that doesn't mean
expenses.
you shouldn't include that in your salary if you think it's valid. So I was just saying, is it valid, was my question. So it sounds like most people think not.
The board thought not, when they gave her
I
a
can tell you that
41,000.
when Lori was the superintendent, she was there a lot. But I can also tell you she lived there, so that's why she was there a lot. So
that
it was a
was-
trade-off. And
It helped with accessibility.
she also got a car, but she also drove that car everywhere. And which I always question how, because I looked into providing my employees cars. And I looked at providing my employees cars, and it was much better at the end of the day for me and my employees to pay them mileage. Because providing them a car, then they had a taxable, I don't know how she got away with that for years.
You mentioned it earlier.
That concern, so there's, and how did she get away with a $12,000
That's a lot.
annual
I mean, if you look at
benefit of a home and not pay taxes on it?
50%.
Because I'm not a CPA and I'm not an IRS agent, but I'm telling you, she benefited $12,000 a year. It would be a taxable, it would be taxable. Because it is part of her income. Yeah. Because I mean, when I was there, we paid for all the utilities, including internet. We literally paid for the janitorial supplies.
Yeah, they put their foot down on what was it she asked for?
Carpet, clean the carpet.
Clean the
Yes,
carpet.
Clean the carpet, we put the foot down. But I mean, we bought new refrigerators, we bought new HVACs,
That's
we
pretty-
paid for the bats to be cleaned out, the mold to be taken care
Well,
of.
and I think that's what they said, if you don't do that, don't give the house, then we're going to up it to include what that Lori had.
Yes, I would. I saw you walking over there.
That was a nice package.
So we're more saying that the housing benefit was wrong to provide. Okay.
It's between the commissioners and the park board, but they already
In
said
my
no
opinion,
housing in the
And
past.
that's only worth that, yes. And I was a park board president.
Okay, so then we just need to figure out the.
I'm staying out of it because I obviously hate the park. So you guys, I'm abstaining, you guys decide.
So who? what
Again,
were- yours was
mine and Kenan both had $2,500 raises on them, and that's a 6% increase, which is more than most.
Anybody but law enforcement.
Yeah, it's more than most.
So if we give this raise,
Yeah,
if we give this raise to her, are we allowing the park board to maintain that full-time position if they so choose?
no. We
They've
took that
already
out.
given it up.
Yeah. That's already taken out of their budget.
That's by their own volition.
That was their decision because that's how we were able to do some, because remember, they were $88,000 over budget.
Was that before or after we adjusted their tax rate?
That was, well,
They
it
were
does, there was a
40
net sum zero on their tax, it didn't matter because we took out 50 and they took out 50. So they were $88,000 either way.
When's live stream over for? Live stream over? Okay, we're good.
Hey, Bill, so what about the foreman position? Have they allowed for that foreman's position?
That's not done either, I don't think.
Okay, so it's not allowed, that's what I didn't know.
I don't know,
I thought it was included in the wages that they put down.
So it's in the general.
Yeah, in the general labor wages, it's just in there.
but I don't think we approved that salary ordinance.
We have not seen a salary ordinance, no, but they have a total of $170,000 roughly for that general labor line item. What did you guys come up with, 169?
598.
Yeah, so that's how much they have, so their salary ordinance has to fall into that and all their part-time. Because that's what they'd asked for. But so far this year, they've only spent $77,000 in 7 months. And several of those months are the mowing months, so I would think their part-time's gonna cut way back down in the fall. Yeah, but that's not nearly as much as mowing. And, well, let's pray it's not. I heard my wife said she looked at the almanac or something, and we're supposed to have a terrible winter.
Yeah, I've heard it's gonna be a harsh winter.
That's Farmer's Almanac, so it depends on
We are,
how
if
much
we
faith
go
you put in it.
Back to the park budget, we're saying $2,500 raise for the superintendent, we're leaving the secretary part-time at $15,000. And then the general labor was, did we leave it at 180? We reduced it, didn't we?
So we would have to actually increase, we would actually have to, because so I have $2,000 raises in there for their 3 full-time positions that are LTC 2s. I have $2,000 raises in there for them, so we would actually, once we figured the raises, we would actually have to add $6,000 to that line
That's
item.
what she asked for them.
Well, she asked for 3%, which 2,000 is almost 6% again.
Chad, if I'm reading this correctly, it looks like you're,
Yeah, the LTC grounds maintenance, yeah.
it says your proposed raise is 2,500, or did you change it?
Okay, it is 2,500, I'm sorry. It is 2,500, I had 1,000 on there for this, so it is 25. I was looking at the low market
The
now.
upsetting part is gonna be her salary, basically. The rest of the people were more than, were meeting on what they requested, is that right?
I'm sorry.
The upsetting part is gonna be the superintendent's salary.
Well, and on the budget, she only asked for 3%. She's asking for 45. This would get her to 44,171. I mean, it's,
Steve that came in,
she's very, very close to that 45 number.
if you don't give the house, they're going to get 50,000. You have no right to tell us what to do in the park.
Unfortunately, he was wrong. I know.
But yes, Betsy, you're right. 75, I didn't scroll over far enough. So it would be 7,500 we'd have to add to that line item when we do the, into the spreadsheet. So they're getting a very healthy raise in that position.
Okay, good thing he couldn't control everything else.
I think we're done.
When we're meeting,
Huh?
When's the three of us meeting?
Whenever Debbie's ready for us, I think, right?
To hash out to make sure we have every position in the spreadsheet.
Well, Debbie needs to pull the numbers. I don't know that we need to come back on Monday. Does anybody think we need to come back on Monday?
It's just the three of us need to
Whenever,
reconcile we have
whenever
everybody
Debbie's ready,
covered,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, the only thing we need to talk, we need to reach out to Joni and talk community corrections. So I don't, if
She was
you,
invited to our head, she was on one of the,
we need to
yeah, she came in last year and says, I can't meet what you're proposing, you're 3%.
well, so we need to reach out to Joni,
I gave her
which
more.
I think I have her cell number, but I'll look. If not, you can, somebody can get it to me. You've got it? Have you got it? Send it over to me. Let me check first. But we need to verify with her what she thinks she can pull off and what she can't, because that's all in her budget. But I think the rest of it, we've pretty well buttoned up.
Carol will be happy.
Is your airdrop on, Chad?
I'm sorry?
Is your airdrop on? Okay.
Thanks, Kenan. Whenever you're ready to go over the salaries, let us know. Let me see if I can find my planner.